Man, it's been a while since I watched The Dark Knight. I got that on DVD somewhere. Hold on, let me test my own internal... Okay. I was a little quiet there on my audio end, but I think we're fine. Normal volume.
Normal. Normalize.
Okay, we're going. Yep, Lucky's coming in clear on the audio. Hello, everybody.
Hey-o.
It's What's Up.
It's What's Up. It's Final Fantasy.
My personal view of our preview is like freaking out and buffering, but it still says excellent connection. Audience, as usual, be sure to let us know in chat if there's any goofles or goobers with the audio or video.
Whomst. It's not me.
But yes, hello, welcome to what?
Yep, it's gonna be a show. It's gonna have stuff. Things are gonna happen.
That is correct.
I'm just gonna say, like, I was planning on streaming Carrion earlier, you know, become Tentacle Monster, but I decided against it because I was able to finally get past whatever weird load glitch they had. I think that's the only way I can explain it. It was some sort of weird load glitch. By finally just loading a previous save because it actually has 2 autosave slots, which is very smart, very nice.
Yep, pretty good.
But I was all like, I'd probably have to start all the way from the beginning again, and that'd be awkward. There's definitely this feeling of once you like make so much progression, going back to the beginning is always a little weird.
Yep, I've definitely had that problem with games.
It's like,
you get too far, and then you're like, I don't really want to relearn everything.
Yeah. So it's Final Fantasy 14 today, in which I am hanging out with the crows, we're punching snakes, crafting things for housing, and I'm probably going to flirt with Elresh a lot.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's not actually that bad. Like, in general, I think our What's Up stupid. Obviously, they do better when you actually, you know, put a game in. Because last week's, which I think you left blank because you had to switch halfway through, it did not do super great. So I don't know. It's got like half as many users as normal. It's really weird. We did do What's Up last week, by the way, guys. You should go check it out. I don't know why it was so weird. But other, you know, episodes do plenty decent. So we have plenty of things to talk about.
That we do.
So I know that I have a few things I want to get through. Talk about some stuff with me.
Yeah.
Maybe catch up some stuff from, you know, missed from last time. We still have that problem.
Yeah, no, I was...
yeah. And if you ever want to catch up, I think at this point, basically, Lucky and I are using the Monday stream as our unofficial What's Up catch-up. Oh, yeah, 2 days ago I forgot this. So, plus, you know, in a couple days, some stuff can change. I know you talked a little bit about your Far Cry experience, that you've had further revelations.
Yeah.
Revelations.
I can talk a little bit about that, because there's actually a couple things.
Yeah, if you wanted to do that, that's okay. I have one thing I definitely want to get from my backlog I want to make sure to bring up, but I don't know if it'll go anywhere, because it's a discussion point between you and me, so I don't want to, like, harp on it, because it's been a while. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, because last week I wanted to mention Poison 7, the Mages 2020 fiction I was working. And I did continue to hammer out more of that. I haven't so much in the past. I've been juggling some other writing projects, trying to get ready for future Star Wars stuff. I did want to ask if you had actually read any of that.
No, I completely spaced on it, honestly.
That's okay. In that case, I won't bore the audience by, like, one-sidedly talking about it, but I will mention again that I did do some more work on it.
I just gotta remind myself to read it, and I will. I was like, I do like the cut of your jib when it comes to writing. Very modern.
Remember, that was post cleanup of cookies in history, so it's very weird what Chrome's, like, deep state memory remembers and what it doesn't. Like, as the days have gone by, it has remembered more of my ancient ass URLs. Like, it's realized there are gaps in its memory, and it's reached farther back and be like, yeah, you do use that website, but some stuff it not remember still. And I've had to log into a lot of places. None of that really matters, but can drop a link to the fiction in the chat, because there's like 4 of you watching. It's fine.
It's fine.
I'm not barbarist.
Barbarist?
Well, I personally think it would be a little boring for me to like one-sidedly talk about it. Like I said, haven't written so much though, but I as is usual, I know the rough outline of where this is going and where the next segments are. And I'm actually hoping to write a little more action because right now my writing with Poison 7 is mostly character bants and my massive world building reflex. That was a joke I made yesterday in Teach Me talking about stuff. All right. Okay, I'm gonna refresh my version of the live control room. The fact that I just see the spinning wheel, even the number ticks up on the preview, is freaking me out. But I talked about that a little on Teach Me about like Nasu and some of his collaborators at Types Moon's like reflexive world building and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely like I am not not necessarily a glass houses thing, but that's he without sin is cast the first stone, as it were. So I definitely know I have that similar reflex to go just like, okay, I could just keep the story flow going, but also I could naturally introduce a piece of exposition here that's really cool. That's probably from me reading Snow Crash way too many times. That book is thick with both in and out of character exposition. Also, some of my writing style that way may come from the fact that I've spent a lot of time like GMing as a creative outlet, which is it's like prose writing, but it's also like improv theater, which lends heavily on exposition.
Oh yeah,
because I play the directorial role, right? Like it's improv, but I am also the quote unquote improv director because I let you know what the scene is and what the characters are in it.
Yeah, you basically have to tell us everything. You literally have to tell us everything. Like, you can't. I mean,
you guys can ask questions and I can clarify, but no, like, unless we're playing a certain kind of game where you guys either have your own authorial powers or, you're invested enough to work on your own backstory elements or whatever. Yeah, it's all on the GM. So role playing is kind of a unique space. So I think that translates to some of my writing of just being like very illustrative.
Mm-hmm.
I also just like really illustrative bits. Good. But my Bance levels definitely will not go down because one of the other things I want to talk about, which I can jump right into if you need a little, is that I got Guardians of the Galaxy for the PS5. Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy by Eidos Montreal. Oh, before I deep dive on that, I do want to say, saw an interesting news article today. Apparently, Eidos Montreal, who is under Square Enix, has put out a feedback poll about Tactics Ogre / Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh.
And there was that big NVIDIA leak of, like, titles which are allegedly coming out, which Tactics was on. So I don't know if that means that they're maybe working on some remastering or further entities. Because obviously, while Triangle Strategy is cool, that's developed by the Octopath team and is definitely leaning towards a certain aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see if they go anywhere else in there. Also, personally, I mean, with like Final Fantasy XIV being out there and using a lot of the, borrowing some of those races or having their own equivalents, I would think that a Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced type thing would be a very good tie-in.
Oh, I think so as well.
Could you do it? I don't know much about the overall 14 setting. Do you think they could do a tactics game with the races and stuff in the setting?
In the setting?
Yeah, like directly borrowing from it, or is it too MMO-y?
Maybe as some sort of mini game kind of thing, but probably not directly. We are very MMO-y.
It's always interesting. Because that's another thing that's interesting about the what did they call it? Not the compilation. That was 7. Was it the Evil East Alliance? Square does this really weird thing around Final Fantasy games sometimes where they like try and turn it into like a greater universe and whatever. And it very often does not work.
Yeah.
See the fact that they were going to make like 3 Final Fantasy 13s and then they made 1. Well, they made 3 of those, but they were going to make 3 at once. And then they were going to do like side stories and one of them became 15. I don't even know what happened to some of the other ideas they had. But so for when 12 came out, because it was the Evil East setting, they tied it into some stuff. So there was a lot of like Evil East Alliance stuff coming out that was all tied together. That included Final Fantasy Tactics A2, which featured cameos from 12 characters. You can recruit Vaughn and Pinello. And there's also Revenant Wings, which was a summoner RTS game. which was a direct sequel to some of 12's plot points and also world building. So there's a lot of weird stuff that happens with those ideas, but they managed to make that work in a couple different game styles.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, enough about Final Fantasy Tactics. So, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
By Square Enix and Eidos Montreal. Is goo. I think I mentioned this somewhere else. Maybe it was probably on stream on Monday because it was before the game actually came out, but it was reviews were coming out.
Mm.
I did see some outlets trying to kind of like clickbait you with, oh, reviews are mixed, but everywhere I saw it was getting good reviews, like 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, over 80% on Metacritic and stuff.
That sounds solid to me.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, that's good. That's when I locked in my pre-order, got it all together. It came like a day late because Amazon fairies are only so magical. But I have been playing it for the past couple of days, and it's really engrossing. I've sat down and played a couple of sessions, and I've put probably 8 to 10 hours into the game.
Oh, okay.
And it's good. It's just really engrossing. Honestly, after playing a lot of these kinds of games for a while, I'm very glad that, as far as I can tell, it is a perfectly linear game.
Oh.
There's no open world stuff. It's just, you move from literal story chapters to story chapters. You do get to, like, walk outside the Milano and, like, walk around settings and, like, look at stuff, do some world build. There are decisions which, may or may not have longer-term ramifications. I'm not really sure when that comes back. Some of them don't seem like they're coming up. For instance, in the bits we saw in the first trailer, I told Drax not to throw Rocket, and Rocket was supposed to remember me defending him, but it's still a plot point because that's Rocket's character to get pissy later at you. Because, he's, for a murder raccoon, he's very emotionally volatile, very sensitive inside. But, yeah, what it is it's just engrossing. Like, it's just, the dialogue is all really great, as you've seen in the trailers. Like, everybody has the bants. Honestly, there's so much of it. I accidentally keep cutting off the dialogue by, like, doing plot. But also, the game is full of dialogue. Like, literally, if you take too long during, like, exploration segments or whatever, like, the other guys will be like, Quill, where you going? We're clearly supposed to go this way. Because, there's it's an action-adventure game, so there's a little bit of, like, exploration in nooks and crannies to get extra materials, find secrets and stuff, If you're, like, solving quote-unquote puzzles, they'll heckle you. They'll be like, somebody tell Quill what he's looking for. If you're taking a little bit to, like, figure out the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, There's also some, cheeky bants back and forth in battle about, saving each other, doing stuff. So, very strong writing. All your characters are very firmly foundation. Everything looks really good. And also everything you need to know about, like, the general game's feel is at the end of the first chapter, which is all, like, cold open before the title screen pops. You have an escape sequence where you fly the Milano set to a flock of seagulls. I ran so far away.
That's great. I love it already.
And yes, kids, the 80s music is strong.
Aw, man.
Yeah, they went for full 80s. The licensed soundtrack is killer. You've got Iran, you've got Take on Me, so you've got plenty of new wave. You also have, hard rock from that period. Twisted Sisters, We're Not Gonna Take It. Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart. All kinds of good stuff. Oh, and they've got some funny ones in there. There's some Pat Benatar. I need to hear, obviously, Bonnie Tyler. At one point, during a tense moment on the ship, when everybody's kind of, bitchy and sad, I walked up to the boombox, which has a holographic screen interface connected to it, because of course it does. And I queued up, Don't Worry, Be Happy. And you can just hear it gently playing in the background as I climb up to the bridge. They do also, I haven't done the research for this, I think they also have original on-theme music. I don't know. I haven't looked it up because I forgot. There are several songs by the band Star-Lord, but the lyrics are way too on point for this to, like, not be original. So I don't know. I haven't looked it up. But that's the excuse in universe why Quill is called Star-Lord, is when he's abducted by aliens at, like, age 13, he's wearing his Star-Lord embroidered denim jacket. But like I said, the lyrics are like way too on point. So I'm like, this has to be like the knockoff music that's on theme, but you can play in streamer safe mode.
Mm.
But no, the music selection is great. It's tied into one of the key mechanics, the huddle, which we saw in the early trailers. So whenever you fill up your meter, you get access to the huddle. The huddle revives all your allies if they're down, so you don't have to manually revive them. And if you answer a question correctly, you give a correct response, you motivate everybody. If you fail, you motivate just yourself. But then it cues the music and everybody gets a damage bonus for a little bit. But yeah, overall, writing's very good. Very strong with all the character interactions all the time. Like, if you just sit and chill on the Milano between story chapters, like, the characters just waltz around and talk to themselves or each other constantly. Like, there are very few points I've found where, unless it's, like, part of the scene's ethos, the characters actually just, like, relax and shut up. They have a really unique take on collectibles. You can wander around and find little collectible items, and when you pick them up and pocket them, if you go back to the Milano, which is kind of like your...
Oh, do they display them?
Yes, they display them in the other characters' rooms, and when you pick them up and look at them, the other characters have conversations about them.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff.
So, like, in one place I picked up something called an assassin ring, and like, oh, that's neat, I'll pocket that. And then you go back, and they're like, hey, Gamora wants to talk about this back on the Milano. So you go into Gamora's room, you pick up the ring, and you have a little conversation with her about, like, her history with Thanos and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, like, it's a good way to character build and kind of, like, talk through the characters' backstories because, hoo boy, density of lore.
I was about to say, is like, this seems like a very natural way to introduce a lot of, like...
Yes, this is a great way to do exposition dump because I'm not very familiar with the the OG comics, Guardians of the Galaxy lore. I don't know how much of this is, like, original or how much of this is classic comics.
Wait. There you go.
But it's very dense. Like, within your first mission, the prologue stuff before the titles roll, you're given kind of the basic setup. You've recently formed the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody's all together. Nobody will fucking give you money. You're all broke. So you get your setup, which is you're going to go find a horrible space monster and sell it to Lady Hellbender because she collects monsters. And you kind of get the rough outline because you have to sneak into a quarantine zone, which is quarantined by Nova Corps, the space cops. And my understanding of Nova Corps is they're kind of like how Marvel's version of the Green Lantern Corps, but without the unified power set. They're, the generic space cop agency.
Space cop.
So you're gonna break the quarantine, fly in, and just catch a space monster to sell for a shitload of units. During this time, you kind of wander around in the quarantine zone, which is quarantined because it was a site of a battle between the Resistance and the Chitauri, like the same Chitauri from Avengers, but I don't know if they're referencing another classic thing. So there's a lot of backstory, like a decade ago, there was the Great Big Space War with the Chitauri, led by Thanos, the Mad Titan, and against a Resistance that ended with Drax the Destroyer allegedly killing Thanos. Drax doesn't believe this, by the way. Drax is like, he's not dead. I'll get him again. Also, if you wanted a more classic interpretation of Thanos, this was actually in the backstory segment I talked about with Gamora, where she describes why she decided to break from Thanos, because she rushed home early to tell him some news and discovered him talking to an empty room, aka Lady Death. Just murdering the whole universe. So yeah, we're going with the classic Thanos motivation, and that's when she was like, "Oh shit, this dude's crazy. I gotta get out of here." There's a lot of allusion to Nebula, but we haven't seen her yet, so I don't know. The character designs are kind of between classic comics and the movie. Literally, one of the costumes you can find, and there's costumes you can discover for everybody. One of the costumes you can find for Groot is called the movie version. It's just Groot with no harness and backpack, so he's basically naked.
Well, I mean, that's kind of fair. It's like what they did with Marvel's Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's
like we're technically Marvel, and we're kind of channeling that Marvel ethos, but we're kind of our own thing.
But like, they make Peter look very different from Chris Pine.
Yes.
I think it's probably more like his classic look. He's got, the tall blonde hair. When you see, because you started the game by seeing Peter basically have a flashback to his room, which is so good because while obviously Peter Quill is an 80s kid, I empathize with this room so fucking much. He's got, movie posters for Tron, and some, some knockoff Star Wars film in there. He's got an Atari on the floor. He's got a Rubik's Cube he hasn't solved. He's got his dice set and his Caves and Creatures posters and books. Because obviously, being Marvel, we can get the Tron license, but we can't do D&D. But, he's got, shoeboxes full of baseball cards and shit, and he just sits in his room chilling to rock music on his Walkman. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This gets you really into the mood as you get to walk around and poke everything. And that's basically, the game basically has 3 modes. When you get to a fight, you're in the fight mode. You walk around, you shoot people. Combat's, kind of simplistic for a basic action-adventure game. As Star-Lord, you can shoot and punch. You do have access to elemental attacks with his guns, but they seem to be locked to story progress. So I've unlocked, Freeze Gun and Shock Gun, which you can use to interact with environmental objects and also expose elemental weaknesses on enemies. But just like they showed in trailers, you have complete access to the other Guardians, so long as they're with you. If they're not with you in story, you don't have access to them, but you have a whole context menu to get everybody out, and everybody has different roles. For instance, Groot is basically like a tank. He has a lot of crowd control abilities, and he's very tough. He resists damage well, as opposed to Drax, who is also a big, strong, tough guy, but he focuses on melee damage and staggering enemies. So some enemies are resistant to damage until you fill their stagger meter, and then when they're staggered, you do more damage. Usual action-adventure stuff, floating HP bars. Rocket is kind of a nuker. He's small and frail, but he has ranged attacks for basic attacks, and he has a lot of big AoE explosives. His default special ability is the Cluster Flark Bomb. Yes, there are a lot of fake space swears in this. Flark, Scott. Very natural.
With the Flark? I can see it.
Yeah. Oh, it is absolutely substituting for the F-bomb. Lots of flarking going on. And Gamora is just deeps. Her default ability is called Shadow Strike. It's just do big damage to one single guy. And they also all have, in your other area, when you're doing exploration and kind of navigation, traversal, your other characters have abilities as well. As Quill, you can kind of double jump a little with his jet boots. You can also dodge roll and stuff. You can obviously shoot. You've got a visor mode, which is your Batman detective vision. You can either look at items to see if they're interactable or just analyze lore objects. Literally, it says lore and has a little tech box under it. This includes dumb shit like jokes about wastebaskets to actual lore building. Again, the lore is very dense, but it's presented in a very natural way. So if you don't care about that and you just want to, punch dudes, you can just punch dudes.
Honestly, the feeling I'm getting for this is this game really isn't necessarily about, the combat. It's about, wandering your rules and being the Guardians, actually being Guardians again.
It is a authentic Guardians of the Galaxy experience, like I said. You wander around with the guys in... What I was going to say is when you're exploring, you have access to that same Guardians context menu, and you can signal the team to do stuff.
Yeah.
You need to, jump up something high or cut something down, call Gamora. She literally can stick her sword into walls and give you a boost so you can jump higher. You need to fit in a small space or, hack something or blow it up, call Rocket. Want to move something heavy, call Drax, And this, moves around and solves, so far, fairly simple puzzles. As Quill, your special thing is your elemental blasts, freeze this, charge this up, and use your visor mode to follow around. The only thing that's a little annoying is that in visor mode, it's R2 for analyze and scan, and it's also R2 out of visor mode to shoot, so you cannot shoot at all in visor mode with your normal blasts, which is annoying because occasionally you do have to shoot things to clear up obstacles. So I'm like, okay, you could have mapped these a little better, but I get it. You have access to a couple of forms of advancement. As you clear encounters, you basically build an EXP bar. Your bar is bigger based on how good you do. There's, systems of momentum when you call on your allies to do stuff. So the game really encourages you to go apeshit and constantly be calling in the Guardians to do combos and stuff. As you build momentum, you get access to special moves. There's if you hit triangle circle, you can do a combo where everybody punches the guy until his HP bar runs out, basically. If he's low on HP, Quill just does like one Superman punch to him, but if he's like in the mid of his HP bar, you just fucking ping-pong in between all 5 of you.
Oh yeah, Suna, Loth, Aresh. Yeah, no, I get it. Screw that guy. Let them die. Talking about something in game real quick.
Yeah. No, it's fair. You also, like I said, have the huddle, which cues up, the 80s music.
Yeah.
It's pretty great, too. You literally go for a huddle, and depending on what quality you're in, the guys will have different, like, conversations with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're actually doing really well, they'll just be like, hey, why are you huddling? We're killing them out there. We're doing great. And then you can say something like, all right, cool, we're doing great. Don't let it go to your head. Let's go. Also, I was saying, when I started the game, there was a very interesting option that I saw. They have, like, your normal difficulties, which are all idiosyncratic. Easy is, we got this.
Mm-hmm.
Medium is, we got this, probably. Hard is, we don't got this. And then there's an option called we make our own way, which is you get to fully customize the difficulty. And there's still a lot of other contextual difficulty adjustments. It's kind of like that control menu as well, which I really like. Because you can, like, do all kinds of stuff. You can set it to auto-win all QTEs, because, there's QTEs.
Interesting.
And the one thing I did do was I set it to auto-win huddles, which is huddles give you 2 dialogue options, and one of them you pick, you, like, do a dumb speech, and everybody's like, that was great, Quill. And they don't get the power-up, so I was like, all right, I gotta, like, charge up this whole bar, and then I can fuck it up. They still give you the response like you fucked it up, but everybody gets the boost. And if you don't want to play it that way, you can just not turn that option on. And there's a lot of adjustment there. And that is another thing I want to say about the way this game is written. Oh boy, are there a lot of dialogue choices. You're walking around, the guys are talking. You'll see, Quill's face pop up for a second with a meter. You press square, you pick a dialogue option, you say something.
Mm-hmm.
You can also just let it pass and not say anything. And, you can go back and forth all kinds of ways with this stuff. If you want to be like, catty to somebody, you can catty. A lot of times you can be like, guys, please stop arguing. Focus. We're doing work here. And as far as I can tell, not a lot of it seems to have any ongoing impact. It just affects the dialogue you get. Some things do have that little, bleep bloop, X will remember.
Yeah.
Like at one point, you guys establish like a code word to like when you need to evac yourself from a situation, and you get to pick it. So the dialogue I picked was sweep the leg. And Quill's like, the code word is sweep the leg, and a little window pops up and it says Gamora will remember the code word. And then like at the end of that chapter, when the code word comes up, she's like, Groot, sweep the leg. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Like just a little Easter egg for you, like. So it's remembering all this stuff. I'm kind of curious, when some of it will come back, but it's just very well written, and like I said, it's engrossing. Like when I play the game, I am totally sucked in. I plug my headphones into my controller so I can get like the full audio experience, and I just play. Like I'm telling myself, like I'm catching myself at night being like, okay, it's like 3 a.m. You should stop playing because otherwise you're gonna be here for another couple of hours.
Yeah.
So all in all, just it seems really good, and it definitely, like I said, is telling a different style of story from the movies. It's a lot more lore dense and a lot bigger on the world building than I think sometimes the MCU is a little more conservative, right?
Yeah.
But it's got interesting things going on. You got a lot of the themes, a lot of cameos, and it's very good. Also, I haven't checked the credits, but I'm reasonably sure it's Steve Blum playing Cosmo the Russian space dog. So you get to hear Steve Blum do his horrible Soviet accent. Because Cosmo's a cameo. Also, yeah, there's a lot of character calls and cameos and stuff. You literally traverse the space between spaces briefly, and you hear like snippets of dialogue, like you hear Cap yelling at the Avengers, and Quill is like, "What kind of team name is Avenger?" Stuff like that, just little jokes and references. I'm not a super deep Marvel comics fan. Like I like a lot of Marvel lines, but I'm not very well read on them, so it seems still fairly approachable.
Yeah.
So it's a good game. I'm glad to play it. I'll probably go back to it after we're done here. So let's see. That was my big one, and I talked for about 30 minutes about that. I don't know how far I am. Like I said, I've played maybe 8-ish hours. I'm on chapter 8. I think it is about 8 hours per chapter. I will say, actually, one last thing is the atmosphere is really good as well. Like, they ping-pong between... Oh, maybe not ping-pong. That sounds a little too sudden. They transition well between, like, you know, interpersonal drama. You guys are, you know, a fucked-up found family chilling on your ship. Your fucking refrigerator door never stays closed. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, and all that stuff, too. Like, some of you guys also have, you know, basically, like, PTSD and other trauma from, like, the big, long war. You know, you talk about, like, your experiences and all your back and forth. Stuff like that, you know. Drax reminisces about his family, etc. To, like, just straight-up comedy. Drax doesn't understand subtlety. Rocket is an asshole, kind of a thing. Groot just says, I am Groot. You know. All that kind of stuff. To, like, straight up, like, suspense and almost horror in some segments. Like, you're crawling in the guts of, like, spaceships, and you're like, where is everybody? What the fuck happened here? What's going on? You know? Like, very good space adventure stuff. Pretty cool. I'm eager to see more. Especially because there are, like I said, a couple of plot and character twists that I don't want to spoil.
Oh, no.
That, you know, maybe we can talk about later fully.
There's something... I do want to pick it up at some time, but I gotta... My game log only gets bigger. It only gets bigger.
Yeah, I understand that. You pre-ordered Voice of Cards, right?
Yes.
Did that actually hit its release date? I saw a launch trailer, but I never know when things are actually...
Yeah, it hit its launch.
Okay, so it out.
It out. So I've been playing it. I have put a few hours into it, but Voice of the Cards, the Isle Dragon Roars, is something that I'm gonna call a weekend RPG, and that it's an RPG that you can beat in a weekend. Like, it doesn't seem that long. Like, I don't know. It might have some new game plus. It might do the fucking Yoko Taro thing of, like, there are multiple endings. But base game only looks like it's only going to take a few hours.
Interesting.
I think.
I mean, from playing the demo, it didn't seem like they went super dense with the gameplay, right?
No.
So I could see that.
And I want to say, even though it's kind of a short, small game, like, this game has definitely put me in this mentality of, you do not need to have, like, huge graphics or massive amounts of mechanics to have something enjoyable. Mm-hmm. It's a very simplistic game, and that's kind of really reflected in the fact that they use cards for everything. Everything's a fucking card. I think we talked
Which, honestly, on some level, was probably way more of a manual pain in the ass for the art team, but definitely didn't involve as many bajillions of dollars of tech development.
No, like, yeah, like, basically, so all they, like, basically everything is everything's a fucking card. All the monsters are on a card. All the fucking characters are on a card. There's, like, some, like, special effects, items and stuff. And, you know, like, when you do attacks and stuff, it's just your character moving, like, spinning as a card. You know, they smack your card against another card to do damage. The only thing that probably actually has, like, real animations, like when you do magic, because you can shoot, like, fireballs and freeze and stuff.
Yeah.
That has little, like...
And sometimes you roll dice. But it's still very, very minimalist in a good way.
It's very minimalist in a good way. So, like, yeah, no. Exploring, it's super simple. Hacking, combat, it's super simple. You know, it's just, like, even the numbers are, like, really small. You know, usually... You usually play, like, RPGs, and you're always thinking about like HP numbers in the thousands.
Yeah, JRPGs are known for number bloat.
Yeah, like,
which obviously lets you be more granular, but is also sometimes excessive.
Yeah, no, like, my characters right now, they have, none of them have more, like, the most what they have is, like, 33 hit points. That's it. Like, their attack...
Yeah, we talked about, like, the dice and stuff. It feels very, like... D&D inspired, where your numbers don't get so large because you have to interact with them through dice.
Yes. So I'm not necessarily gonna get into the story bits, like the actual story bits, because I'm dumb. I'm sorry, Resh. I was trying to talk about this game and I died in my other game. Let me actually sit up. So
no slouching.
No slouching.
Big sit.
So, like, this is a Yoko Taro game, and it has the Yoko Taro, I guess I'm gonna call it lore beats, because here's the thing that happens when you get a card. Like, you can get cards for like characters and stuff, and they have names like, you know, the woodsman. This is the one that stuck out. This is the one that stands out to me. This is the one I'm gonna say. So, like, say you run into a guy called like a woodlands man. You run into him enough times, you'll get his card. You run into him enough times again, you get the reverse side of the card. Now, on... Oh, hey, it's a scale. Need! That's a 36. God damn it. So, on the first side of the card, it says, he has lived in these woods for years. You know, he gets fruit from their branches. He drinks from their stream. He drinks from their stream. What was, like, the last line in it? You know, he continues to wander. Then, on the reverse side of it, though, it says, these woods have bewitched and beguiled him from years. He knows he can never leave, no matter how much he begs. And it's just like, oh. Like, there's a lot of this, this wasn't as I thought it was gonna be. And then there's, like, other things of, like when you find, like, the woodsman lady, she says, like, on the front car of, on the first side of the car, it says, she's content with watching him from afar, knowing that he doesn't know of her, and stuff like that. And then, on the reverse side, it's all like, look at all these trees that I can hide in. He will never know I am here. It's just all like,
Yeah, I got that impression from the demo with some of the like story beats and lore you could collect on characters.
It's just like, it's like,
What's this? I can collect cards talking about the monsters I'm killing? There's no way that'll go wrong.
No, so it's like, it has very much that Yoko Taro, I guess I'm gonna call it sense of humor. I think that's the best way I can call it. But it's interesting. The game's interesting because you play basically the underdog in the story. Because this is the thing that I always find interesting. Because did you play the demo?
Yeah, I played the demo. Beat the demo.
Remember the demo, you played the Ivy Order, right?
Yep.
In the Ivy Order, they're kind of assholes to you in the actual game. They kick your ass once because you ran into them. They steal a treasure you were looking for. They butt in your fights. And you're just like, God, man, can you just not? So it's kind of interesting. But, like, here's the thing. It's the interesting thing is, like, the main protagonist is actually kind of an asshole, which I thought was interesting. You're not, like, you're given a bit of agency over him, but usually when you respond to things, you're trying to get more money or you're being a little shit. Which is something, I guess. But like I said, I like it. It's definitely something that I'm probably gonna play it a couple times and then probably never think about again unless they come out with some more of it. Because like I said, the game's very, like, I don't want to say very small, but it's pretty small for an RPG. Oh, excuse me. But like I said, I really do like it. If anything, like, the story's simple, but again, it's the aesthetic of the cards that really gets me. Like when, and because you can customize, the DLC is all cosmetics. This is actually what I'm going to talk about. The DLC is all cosmetic because you can get basically the near set, which gives you, like, change up things, but you can change what's on the card back. You can change, like, how the icon looks. You can change the table that it's on. You can change the battle board. You know, you can change the dice, you can change your movement marker, you know, you can customize all that stuff. So it really does kind of feel like you're playing some sort of tabletop game. And I really, as someone who likes to play the tabletop RPG, I can really get behind that. The other fun thing, something that's kind of, I would call both a weakness and a strength of it, though, is the narrator. There's only one voice in this game, and it's the narrator. And unfortunately, he basically uses the same tone of voice for everyone and everything. Which is funny in some points, but not so much in others because, like, it's one of those things of, like, if you, like, he'll just pop up randomly saying something. Like, if you get a crate, he'll be like, oh, lucky. And whatnot. Or, if you're, like, one of your characters went down, he'll just be like, oh. And it's stuff, but, you know, it's all in the same sort of tone of voice. I actually did listen. They have a narrator both for English and Japanese, and I have listened to them both. And I actually think they're both good, but I like the Japanese one better because he has that professional smoothness, I guess I want to say.
Yes.
But the English one has that. The English one has that storyteller croon. I guess is the best way to call it. It's not quite like Bastion's level of I'm way down here, but it's pretty close to that. And I like them, but I like them both. And like as I said, since it's and this is the thing I think is really nice about it, is because there's only that narrator. You don't necessarily have to worry about like only giving it in that one tone. You don't necessarily have to worry about so much the differences, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like no, this is just what you're gonna get, and they're both good. They're just both, again, as the rest of this game is, simple. But like I said, I put a lot of work. I put quite a bit of hours into it, and I probably will some more later today.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other thing I did, I talked about this. I did get Carrion to work again. I'm having fun with that. The pixel work in that game is amazing, by the way. I don't know how they fucking do it. There's like a lot.
Attention to detail and a lot of hard work. As somebody who's done a little bit of like pixel sprite editing and stuff, it's
yeah.
It's probably artists who are zoomed like way in and zooming in and out and drawing every little individual pixel.
It has to be. But again, that's a real fun game. Like I said, they call it a reverse horror game. It is fun to be the monster sometimes. It gets a little clunky the bigger you get, because even though you're a big mass, your center point, the point that you move from, is like on the edge. So you'll move and then everything else will fall behind you. So sometimes that makes things awkward. But it's still a fun game. Like, again, it's something else I'm gonna be putting some time into when I get a chance. Like I said, I need to stop buying games because I still want to get Deathloop. I really do. But like I said, I need to clear out some of the things I have before I get more games.
Yeah, I will probably check out Voice of Cards, but after I'm done with Guardians.
Yeah.
And I do still want to take some time and queue up some of those enhanced versions of stuff I haven't checked out. You know, Integrate and the director's cut for like Death Stranding. Definitely probably Ghosts, because that's a whole ass new island.
Whole island. But so that's what I've been playing. I've still been playing Far Cry 6, but I'm starting to slow down on Far Cry 6, and I realized why. I actually tweeted about this a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I actually got some other things I'm going to complain about Far Cry, or should I say people who play Far Cry. But I've been playing Far Cry. I'm 2/3 of the way to the game. I kicked the ass of the second third that I had. All right. So this is me, B Danny. Be the fucking, max rank, fucking base breaking, checkpoint stealing, anti-aircraft destroying, badass motherfucker who has literal, like, hundreds of kills underneath her belt and still get absolutely no respect. It kills me a little bit because, here's the thing. Like, oh god, what's the best way to say this? If I'm somebody, I want to be treated as somebody. Even if I'm like in a new area, people can't fucking not know what I'm doing here. I know this might be a limit of the gameplay because you can't fucking code everything to reflect your progress. But still, when I have crushed 2/3 of a fucking evil dictatorship, and I go up to a dude who I have to fucking save, by the way, because they're really fucking dumb, and the first thing they pretty much say to me is, "You're still full of shit." I'm all like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yep.
Like, why am I risking this for this? Oh, by the way, I did figure out where the fucking the secret ending is, because I decided to look it up, because I figured I knew where it was. I knew the point where you basically can refuse the call to action, but I decided not to go through it because I didn't want to go through it all anyway. But basically, after you get done with the tutorial island and you get the boat, if you literally do take the fucking, if you take the boat off the map, the game will end, and you will, Danny will end up on the beach in Hawaii, you know, relaxing in a sun chair, listening to the radio as they talk about how the revolution and the island has failed. And at this moment, I'm like, I should have just fucking done that. I should have just left. Fuck you guys. No respect. No respect. I'm over here having to deal with fucking toxic cancer drugs. You know, so a whole bunch of like things like I'm glad I'm glad I did with the Montoyas first. You see, the first group, the Montoyas, they were all right. They were a little, what's the word I want to say? Unfriendly to strangers, but they warm up to you super fucking quick. Super fucking quick. Like the daughter is all like, "Oh yeah, you're cool." You like I love the moment when you meet the Montoya's daughter. I can't remember her name. She literally is like interrogating guy, and you come in and she just whips the knife at you, and you do the fucking bare neck, the bare hand knife catch between your palms, and you're just like, "Oh."
Nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. But, you know, she warms up to you quickly. Her papa is, like, also kind of like, fucking strangers. But you do, like, one mission for him. He's like, you, I, kid. And, you know, things come from there. And Philly's just a fucking an animal, man. The Philly magic is great. But I get to the second area, and your contacts are as the Legends of 67. They're basically the group that did the previous revolution. And, you know, they're too old for this ship, except for El Tigre, who calls you Baby Tiger. Baby Tigre, which I think is adorable. He's basically your fucking grandpa, you know, that fought in the fucking war and will tell you war stories all the time. And he's great, too, because he likes you just automatically. The others, not so much, but they're not necessarily mean to you. They're just, you know, they're just like, no, we fought this war. Our time is done. We're just going to be sad in the mountains. And I'm like, all right, you know, that's fine. But then I meet La Morale, and I'm like, I fucking hate these kids. I fucking hate these kids. I think I'm getting old, Omega. I really think I'm getting old.
Possible.
Because, like, all throughout the time I'm dealing with La Morale, I'm just like, these kids are fucking stupid. These kids are fucking stupid. Why are they doing this? Because they kind of treat me like shit, too, because they're like, because basically once you answer the call to action, you're basically become Libertad, which is Claire Garcia's big resistance movement. Basically, I'm trying to get all the other resistance movements on board Libertad so we can take out Castillo. And like I said, the Montoyas, based on Montoyas, like they join up. And the Legends of 67, El Tigre was for it immediately, but you know he has to convince the others to get to it. You get to La Morada, they're like, we don't need no fucking Libertad. Because they're basically a bunch of college students from the Yaran University who had some bad shit happen to them, yes. But their idea of running the revolution is to, you know, just cause a lot of collateral damage, take selfies of fucking themselves with corpses, and, you know, generally cause just a ruckus and, you know, steal other people's supplies. It's just like, oh, God. And, of course, their fucking ways, you know, completely backfires on them and gets a bunch of people killed. And the leader, fucking, what was her name? Like, Liena, the first thing she says to people is all like, now is not the time for I told you so. And I'm like, girl, you're gonna fucking hear it, though. Like, I wish. God, I fucking wish. And then another time she's like, I don't want to hear how fucking Libertad could have helped us. I'm like, we could have, though. It's just one of those things of just, it's, the theme of the section is, I guess I want to see it's the recklessness of youth versus the fucking experience of age. You know? One of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I can understand the theme they're going with it, but God, they really, I think they really oversell how, like, the reckless energy of youth. And I'm like, no, this girl's a smart hacker who's been running this. She should be a little bit smarter and know not to fucking just be like, oh, fuck you, the kids are in charge now. That's dumb. That's fucking dumb. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about, like, I'm too old for these things, because maybe when I was younger I would have been like, yeah, fuck the authority and all that stuff, but I was like, now I'm just all like, no, don't. You're doing things wrong. Like, I had this problem in the Discord earlier. Someone was talking about, like, their con situation. I was just all like, excuse me? The fuck? Well, not necessarily the fuck. I wasn't actually like upset at them, but I wanted to know what the fuck was happening. And I was like, no, why didn't you do this for you fool? Which was a little silly in retrospect, as Omega said. It's like, was a little silly.
Yeah. It was an interesting conversation because it started with like a small prompt, and then you go back and forth, and then you were like, not necessarily like, what the fuck are you doing, but like, what the fuck is happening? Why is this happening? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you drilled down like 4 points, and I'm like, wow, okay, Lucky's really enthused about this.
Yeah.
I got my comment was kind of meant as like, because I did chime in, I was kind of like, I mean, it seems like if it's a sudden change, they wouldn't necessarily be prepared for this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have some further personal thoughts, but I don't actually know anything about this, so I don't know if I don't really want to weigh in. And then you continued your discussion, but you were at the same time being like, but I don't know the specifics. And I got a little sassy, but I was like, well, I see the guy you're talking to typing, so if you hold on a second and don't add more to the discussion, we can maybe get some answers.
I fired back.
Like, hey, you added to the discussion, and I'm like, yeah, a little bit, but not nearly as much as you did.
No, like I said, well, again, this is one of those things. Like, I like logistics and coordination and all that good stuff. So when things like kind of fall apart like that, that's one of those things. I'm just like, what's going on? You gotta think.
And we talked about this at the end. It was like, gave him some advice and stuff. It was. Well, a lot of what you were preaching was just, planning and forethought.
Yeah, which
and then
in that moment,
the problems came from adaptivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. It was good advice in general, but it was not. A lot of it wasn't helpful to that moment because we'd already hit the crisis point.
Yeah.
And I don't want to drill down into it. You guys can, find it if you really care in our Discord history.
But it's just one of those things of like, I take that attitude everywhere I go. It's like, you plan properly, you consider properly, and you move properly. This is like one of those things we talk about in Star Wars. It's like, I'm usually the person who will come up with plans, but then I have a contingency for the plan or a backup plan, but I don't like drill down so heavily on the plan that it can't deal with something unexpected.
Yeah.
I usually go for the path of the most success with the least amount of risk, I guess is the way I want to put it, or something like that. And that's just, a lot of planning and stuff like that. So it gets me. It gets me.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
That did kind of also turn into an interesting conversation. That's where our current theme of, every droplet a stream kind of a thing. Because, you were talking about like, how to get funding and balance stuff out. And it really is when you're dealing with a certain mass of people, like every little bit truly does count. Like some people will not think, oh, this doesn't count, this doesn't help. No. If you can actually all get together and make a concerted effort, it absolutely counts. We were talking about like our own operations budget, which I'm gonna have to shill a little bit for. We did very well in October so far, and then we got a couple days left, so we don't know about the views. But doing, revenue is getting up. Not our peak when we were doing like big boy live stuff and getting a shitload of views during like FGO's anniversaries and stuff, because that draws a lot of attention. But like still doing pretty good considering that otherwise we're in kind of a content dearth, Like there's a couple of big news bops in there, but that's continuing for me to plan my budgetary plans, for like I said, doing some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, which I think I will go ahead with because I can easily cop to the payment plan on the cards. But I do need also to, like I said, I need to like research and actually like purchase and set up a camera setup for that, because I know there's a very particular style people do for like card pack openings, and I need to like. There's got to be a tutorial because everybody fucking does this. So I'm gonna go online later and figure it out and figure out like the right camera for it and stuff. Because like I said, I would like to stream it if I'm gonna buy like a big display box full of like 5 boxes of these things, funded by and obviously like I said, the funding is coming from the audience anyway. I'd like to like give back to the audience. I want you to give me your money, but I'd also like you to get something out of it. For the most part. But if you're thinking of contributing, like every little bit does count. Like we get like, usually around 200 views on What's Up overall if it's doing pretty good. And so, if everybody who watched, everybody who gave us a view gave us like 99 cents, that would be, $200 a What's Up. That would be a decent operating budget for some planes and stuff. So like every little bit does matter. If you chip in a little, you get a lot out there. And obviously I know some people don't have anything to chip. You know, when I see like Patreon exit surveys and they just say, my financial situation changed, I'm like, no, I understand. You know, but it's really interesting how just that little bit of extra, oomph from the audience can go a long way.
Yeah.
So never feel like you're not contributing, by the way. If you do, no matter what you do, whether it's just your views or if you do contribute money to us in some fashion, it all, goes in there and has a great impact when it's all added up together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so to go back to some of the general stuff on Far Cry, one, yes, definitely. Definitely getting older. I recently took the like Myers-Briggs 16 personality test, and I think I got a different result, and I'm a lot more extreme in a lot of areas. I'm like 80% introvert, and all that stuff. And it's like some of them are close, but some of them aren't. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I think I'm just getting older, and I'm getting less. I'm getting more tired of people's bullshit. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yep.
I've been alive for closer to 30 years than not, and it's just, nah, I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yep.
Asking me questions like, after a stressful week, a round of social interaction is just the thing you need. Strongly disagree. No, I'm good. I'm good. If I've had a rough week, I don't want to talk to people. I want to go hide up in my blankets and read. But there's also, I think, just a general ethos of like, it feels almost like the way you said you described the different groups gives me a slightly different opinion. Oh. At first, I was just like, yeah, this I think is just maybe the problem with like open world kind of stuff. Like they're not tracking what you're doing all the time, so like it's one of those classic problems that some of these video games have, where the writers try and keep up the like tension of your character and try to like keep you almost like grounded. They try to like ratchet you down because the gameplay is you ratcheting way up and you doing impossible bullshit while you shoot 5 billion dudes or whatever. A lot of the dialogue has to like kind of like wind you down and be like, oh no, don't feel like that's a big deal that you killed like 50 dudes to take this checkpoint. That's just how this gameplay goes, guys. Don't get too caught up in it. But what did I phrase when I replied to your tweet? It was like, treating you like you aren't a badass when you're clearly a badass is certainly a look, I think, was something like it.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of games that do that. They don't like treat you with the respect level that's warranted by your accomplishments in game. They try to like downplay it a little, which sometimes that's relevant, but sometimes it's not. And usually it makes the players feel kind of shitty. And often they are upset with the game for treating them like shit than they are with characters.
Yeah.
It does sound kind of like, well, obviously they maybe went a little ham. It does sound kind of like the college kids are like supposed to be kind of like almost, naive, idealistic assholes, and you're like, oh my god, you guys don't know, because I've, been dragging my ass through this fight for however many hours of the game already. You guys don't fucking know, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
But that's always kind of interesting with these big, wide open world games. And like I said, this is why I'm kind of like enjoying Guardians of just being like a focused narrative experience, because like Deathloop is cool, but also, boy, there's a lot of, open world wandering around, figuring out time and investigating stuff, and I'm just like, God, sometimes I'm busy, guys. I just want a curated experience, like a novel only goes one way, and I feel like several games I've kind of dropped recently. Like I was thinking about this because I've been thinking about space stuff. I was thinking about like, oh yeah, sometime I should get back to Mass Effect Andromeda, because after I that initial like push, first with your dad and then he's dead and now you're the Pathfinder and then you got to go to the planet. And you gotta set yourself up. Then it's like, all right, you can start solving problems and doing side quests. And I'm like, cool. All my motivation is gone now that you're giving me this giant wide open world. I feel like the tension has been bled out, and I am not eager to explore this universe. I'm just kind of like, neat, cool. I'm gonna go drink beers with my buddy in his couch that he smuggled in. All right, bye. Yeah, and I just stopped playing since then.
Like I'm saying with the voice of the cards, we're just going from beat to beat to beat. You get little cards that you can read over real quick, but otherwise it's just a straight fucking line.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier when we're more sensitive about our time to like power through those than it is to just be like, well, I guess I got like 50 things to do. This is something that I think BioWare games usually do, and I think Mass Effect in general did. Both of these aspects: one, making you feel like you're cool. Because, like, depending on your backstory, you can literally be a war hero shepherd from, like, game one. And usually people who should know about you treat you that way. They're like, hey, aren't you Commander Shepard from the Skillian Blitz? Aren't you super cool? And you're like, you can usually be humble, like, nah, don't worry about it. Or you can be like, I am, yes. Hello, Commander Shepard here. Hi, first human Spectre. Excuse me. And like people who don't treat you like you're hot shit either usually have a reason, probably because they're fucking international criminal warlords or are 1,000-year-old Krogan, and you've been alive for like 30 years. They don't give a shit kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes sense. And it builds up as you play further and further games. They're like, holy shit, is that Shepard? What the fuck are you doing here? And you're like, oh, shopping for some fish. Like it's almost like the game can kind of sometimes juxtapose how you, Commander Shepard, still have a normal life. Like, when you get your in Mass Effect 3 with a Citadel DLC, Admiral Anderson gives you his old apartment, and he's like, listen, I'm not coming back. You can have my apartment. It's great. It's a good place to relax. And you're like, cool. Means I need to go buy some furniture. You go down to the party supply store for your big party kind of a thing, right?
Right.
But also it's, people are like, holy shit, is that Shepard? What the fuck? I think Dragon Age also did this pretty good, right? Like when you roll up and they're like, are you a fucking Grey Warden? What the fuck? Like, or even your backstory stuff, like especially Origin. Origin was so good about the prologue stuff coming back for most of your Origins. Like, like I said, I first played Human Noble Origin, which completely changed my path in the game. That was basically my no peace option with the Ferelden traders there, because I was a little nettled at Arl Howe for murdering my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like a bitch. And also for Taryn Logain for forgiving him. And I was like, all right, Alistair's the motherfucking king. I'm going to slap everybody out of my way. It really shaped you. When you're a mage and you roll back up to the tower, they're like, oh, you're so lucky to have gotten out of here, man. It sucks. And you're like, man, it does suck. I remember these hallways. So like BioWare games are usually really good about making you feel that appropriate level of like, yeah, you're kind of accomplished. You're a badass. And I wonder if like some of that is just like specific character beats in Far Cry 6, or if it's kind of like the open world problem. Like I do remember from like 4 that like sometimes your buddies in like I don't remember the name of the country, the in the Himalayan resistance are like, hello, you are Gopher, you go here and fetch thing now. But also you are literally a rando tourist who just like fell out of the bad guy's presidential palace, right? So, you're slowly building, but it kind of keeps on as they like realize you're more and more influential, and they try to like pit you against each other. And just sometimes with games, it's better to be more focused,
Mm-hmm.
And to let those exploratory type games be more exploratory. I don't want to dump on Ubisoft too much, but I do kind of feel like they're getting a little bit of a reputation now that a lot of their big like AAA long running titles are getting like kind of over designed and kind of samey. Like I've heard a lot of people. First of all, okay, everybody drink. I'm gonna mention OSP. Not about a Red video though. But their history guy Blue has been streaming AC2 from the Ezio collection.
Oh yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah, I've watched through a couple of those. For the second one, he actually had Red on mic too. So, but the first one was just him flying solo. So I actually had to go back and watch that because at first I was like, I don't know if I can watch a solo stream. But like, he kind of talked about the ups and downs of the game, and watching him play like a couple hours of it, I'm like, okay, I've never been an AC guy. Kind of missed the bus on that one, but this AC2 here looks pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not. The minimap isn't ludicrously overcrowded, The lore is a little dense, but it's not crazy. Everything's kind of sort of historically accurate for the most part. But I've heard him, because he's apparently a big AC guy, and also other people talk about like some of those last couple of games. Like it did sound kind of cool that Odyssey, for instance, went in a little bit of a RPG direction, and I still may want to pick that up myself because I'm a big classics nerd. But I've heard that also about like Valhalla's kind of like big and over designed and has a lot of elements in it, and it has a lot of these set piece towns that you are in for like 5 minutes to do a world map thing, and then you move on. And it's kind of like I'm wondering if maybe their games they're getting a little too big for their britches on some of these games. They need to like drill down and go back to basics maybe. Because there is a little bit of an arms race in games that, as we've discussed, isn't always necessary. Like Voice of Cards can be a worthwhile compact experience with a deliberately retro a arguably like anti-tech aesthetic. Literally everything is cards, you know? And it can be a very pretty and well-made game because like it looks really nice. It's actually really interesting, this aesthetic of like you're playing a card game on this card table kind of thing, you know? You mentioned Carrion as well, which is a, you know, pixel graphics game that is very beautiful and very advanced. And while it required a lot of hard work, I bet it was technologically simpler because it was probably just the sprite artists like drawing the animations directly, you know, pixel by pixel, as opposed to like giant crunchy engines rendering all that stuff. Like Guardians is very vibrant and visually crisp, but I don't really like. I've heard some people wondering if the game will look good on like the Switch version with like streaming the graphics from like outside. Probably, because I'm not really that fussed about the graphics of the game. Like, yeah, there's some flashy effects. Yeah, there's some nice detail on the characters, but like the real joy of the game is just in the general color palette, and the rest is just in a lot of like exploring an audio. You know, what are you worried about? The audio is going to be crunchy or something? It'll be fine. But it's bad fun. So like sometimes I do wonder if like the game developers get a little too up their own ass, you know, about stuff, and I should maybe like roll back.
Well, to be fair though, I do think that's kind of the hand-to-hand relationship that we have with developers and with players, because players are always demanding to have the next greatest shiny thing. Always.
Yeah. We do kind of feed the arms race, like I said.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, but like on the other hand, sometimes that does like happen, like what we have here is like people are like, do you remember a time when things were simpler and we didn't have to worry about this so much? I miss that. And we get, you know, little and
that kind of space emerges for games like Kena, which is very graphically advanced and very beautiful, but also a deliberate throwback.
Yeah,
you know, it's a very simple platforming action adventure game. And the studio designed it to look beautiful because they wanted it to look pretty, because they're like we said, they're a movie studio first, you know. So that's kind of like a deliberate art style choice to get all this extra oomph in there. And sometimes I don't know about that. Like I think that Hideo Kojima pursues like really high def photorealistic graphics and mocap because he loves movies and he loves visual storytelling.
Yes.
So like he wants that fidelity, but he still made, you know, the original Metal Gear on the MSX. He made it that way because of tech limitations. It's a stealth game because they couldn't spawn too many enemies on screen, right? Like, and there's so many decisions about the original Metal Gear Solid, which is a wonderfully written and, you know, well acted game with those fucking chunky PS1 polygons.
Sorry, Legendary Bonus Hunter. People will not stop asking for shiny things, especially on the internet.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about that, actually, if you're going to use that as a segue.
Yeah, I'm going to use that as a segue.
That's a funny one.
So this is about Far Cry 6 again. So, basically, if you sign, as everyone knows, Far Cry 6, it's Ubisoft. And Ubisoft has their thing called Ubisoft Connect, which is their own little platform thing that they want you to buy in constantly, get extra stuff.
Yeah, everybody's got their little things.
Yeah. And if you have Connect to your account and it has like the email and stuff, and you have Far Cry 6, on occasion, at certain points, you'll get an email from them, from Anton Castillo, who will somewhat mock you depending on your progress on the game. Now, let me note this out. I'm taking my official stance is it's a neat thing, it's not necessary, but I don't mind it. It's a gimmick.
I mean, yeah, you signed up to Ubisoft and you let them email you, so you know what you did. That's why you uncheck those boxes.
Yeah. But the thing is someone who had the game got an email who basically put in no progress into the game, and then got an email from Antanas Canada who's like, man, you're making this easy. I thought you'd try harder. And that person felt incensed that the game was like trying to mock them from not playing. I'm just like, yes, but also no. The game just gives you an email depending on your progress. Like, people then showed like future screenshots of, you know, of other progress markers and what Conceal says. And he's always a little bit of a sassy bastard to you, no matter what.
I mean, yeah, they hired Giancarlo Esposito for a reason.
Oh no, he's good in it, by the way. I really do like him in it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, there was some. I mean, like, I think the marketing is a little obnoxious because there were even some. I talked about the YouTube ads before the game came out, and it's like, hello, I'm Giancarlo Esposito. Were you thinking of skipping the ad? but I'm still here. You know, like fucking with the YouTube algorithms to like make you wait 6 seconds or whatever. And like, okay, all right, we're a little on the nose, you know.
I know it's a little on the nose, but real talk, I enjoyed that ad. I like.
Oh, it's funny, but it's also like, all right, maybe it's just some of that I think was maybe a little too close to home because like I don't know what the fuck YouTube is doing.
I think
with like their ad algorithms because like there are a lot more unskippable ads.
Yeah, there is.
And there are also like honestly I think it's still faster, but I think YouTube is trying to make it so it's not faster for you to just see an ad, realize you can't skip it, click that video again. I have to like cycle through like 5 ads very rapidly on like PS5 or my phone. I have an ad blocker installed on my desktop just because you don't. Listen, there's a lot of websites that are way more obnoxious than YouTube. I could exclude YouTube, but it's fine. I trust me. Do you know how many hours I put in on watching mobile or PS5? I'm giving my fellow channels their ad rev. I should probably just buy premium, but I need to like sort out what memberships I want to do for stuff anyway. Like I said, I think HBO is probably gonna suck me into an HBO Max before too many years go by. But it's definitely like they're definitely stepping up their game in terms of their ads. Some of which are just obnoxious and self-serving. Like YouTube, your quote unquote unfuck it initiative. That's very cringe. I don't know who told you this was a good idea.
The what?
Oh, have you not seen these ads?
No.
So, it's advertising a new series of YouTube videos and series that are supposed to be about sustainability and the environment because that is kind of important.
Yeah.
Stuff's happening. You should pay attention. Watch out for stuff going on. See what you can do about that kind of thing. But their advertising is so like cutting edge TikTok Gen Z shit. Like they show you a beautiful vista and there's a slightly snarky woman who's like, isn't that beautiful? And then like the ice falls in. It's fucked with a beep because they have to beep their own fucking ads because that's how family friendly YouTube is. And they're like, check out Unbleep It, our new series, and it's clearly Unfuck It. And I'm just like, all right, YouTube, come on. You're trying a little hard. You're trying way too hard to be hip.
Well, that's the thing.
We've been working with YouTube in a sense for several years. I know they're not that hip.
Well, that's the thing. You gotta reach that young audience though.
It's true. You gotta try. That's that whole fucking like Facebook rebranding into Meta and the Facebook papers. Also, I think Mark Zuckerberg is a huge nerd, and he's probably read Ready Player One way too many times or something, and he's like, this is the future I want to create, not realizing that, he is literally becoming a cyberpunk villain. Guys, we're going to need to go into his space base so he can't call the aliens to, like, steal our souls, which are actually, like, quantum computed engrams or whatever in the God machine. we gotta stop the Zuck. But no, like... that was a big thing in one of the Facebook papers is like they are totally like not resonating with young adults at all. Like the mean age on Facebook is like 40s and 50s. In case you didn't already think of Facebook as a platform only for old people, turns out that it's statistically correct. Facebook is only for old people or older people anyway.
Yeah,
and it's like, and they are doing awful in that 20-somethings and late teens department, and that's probably why they're doing a lot of rebranding push. Also, hey, guess what? According to their own internal research data, people think Facebook is full of shit and fake news.
I wonder why.
Gee, I wonder what could have caused that. Yeah, so it's always funny to hear that corporations do in fact know what you think of them, and probably need to do something about that. But yeah, no, it's always good to like try and reach that new audience, but I feel like including the F-bomb only to censor it anyway was like a little too much. Like, all right, guys, come on.
You're better than this.
I mean, you made me remember the ads, but you made me remember the ads in like a really jaded way. And I don't remember any of the shows you advertise at the end of the trailer actually about sustainability. But yeah, talking about like what people want and stuff, and the kind of various things. The email thing was interesting. I saw some of those tweets. I mean, like I do think because you brought this up. I think it was Vesperi responded with this. Had a good point. Nice hot tub, by the way.
I'm working on my apartment.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I'm watching. I hope the people are enjoying the power of interior decorating.
I said I was gonna do it in the description.
But I think there is a valid point. You know, I've done this myself sometimes. Sometimes you get a new game, but you're not quite done with like your other games, so you don't start it right away.
Yeah.
But the idea that you would like, I don't know, jam like 15 or 30 minutes into Far Cry, which isn't even enough to like, you know, how long were you in like opening cutscenes and like tutorial shit? It was a while.
Yeah.
The game was a little handholdy before it got to the open world. So like you gotta play for a decent bit before you get to a really good like stopping point, and then you just don't pick it back up. Well, you probably shouldn't be such a big fan of Ubisoft that you have your account linked, your email linked to them or something if you're not enjoying the game that much, guys.
Yeah, like that's the thing, and that's the thing that got me really. It's like if you bought the game and you like just didn't install it because you got your own list, but no, to get those emails you have to connect, which means you have to boot it up. So to get that email, you booted it up for something and then just didn't play it. So it's like I'm just like, why? What's happening here? What am I missing?
What's going on with your time management, guys?
Yeah.
Also, it did come out, and this was another complaint you had, but it did come out through some sequel tweets that other people, you know, ratioed on. By the way, it does that too, even if you've played the game a shitload. It's not making fun of you exclusively for not playing.
It's
the
just
game in general just comments on how much you played and what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you haven't accomplished a lot, the game will be like, "Hey, you're not doing very well." It's also really interesting because I mean, I know so many people who do the "I see you like Castlevania" joke.
I did that literally like an hour ago.
Yes. Yeah. So like people remember that bit, but when Hideo Kojima reads your personal data and figures out what video games you like, it's cool. But when Ubisoft sends you an email and makes fun of you, it's not cool. I don't know. Make up your mind.
Well, again, it's because people on the internet are way too sensitive. I'm gonna straight out say it.
Yeah, I've been noticing some other people. I don't have this problem because I'm very selective about who I follow, and I generally ignore the trending tab.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually disappointed if I click on it.
Yeah.
But I have been seeing some people kind of push back about how, like, in some ways, Twitter is kind of a negativity trap, and like, just you got to filter a lot of people. Like, I don't get any of this because one, our community was never that bad about it, but also I've stopped playing the game and paying attention. But I have seen or heard several people complaining about the greater like Genshin Impact community being like just kind of, I don't know, I guess insufferable to hang around. Which, because I follow a lot of artists and art people, I hear about because they like to draw the art of the characters because the designs to get the money. Designs are good because they want your money.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of like spirals out that like a lot of them are just like, the game seems cool, the characters are cool, can't stand the people. And I'm like, damn, what is the Genshin community like that like multiple artists are saying this to me?
Oh, yeah.
Or in general, not to me, but you know what I mean.
You see, well, to be fair, like, we try not to act it, but like with our Discord community, which actually has several people in it, we make no qualms that if you do not at least be a mostly positive person here, you will just get the fuck out. There will be peace or love, or I will fucking kill you.
Yeah, we are not shy about the fact that if you come to our Discord to start shit, the law will not handle that. Like, we're honestly pretty lax about most things.
Well, like I said, we don't want to like tell people like they can't like express their opinions and stuff, but
we are not here to like thought police you or anything. But like I said, if you're here to start a fight, we don't want to fight, so we'll just end it.
Yeah,
talk shit, get shot, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's plenty of times where like we have to be like and be like, did you like go to people? It's like, do we literally have to have this conversation? And a lot of people are just like, I call a lot of people out on Fox politeness.
Yeah, I do too. Like there's a lot of weird like internet grammar and stuff, and maybe that's us just getting old. And I'm just like,
again,
nah,
I'm
not for it. I'm like, did you have to bring that up? Like we had that conversation I think a couple weeks ago where somebody said something. They were like, I don't need to say, but, and I was like,
then don't say it.
Did you need to say or not? You said it. Did you need to? And they were like, I guess I was just trying to be like polite about it. I'm like, well, you should just say. You can be friendly without being fake, guys.
Yeah.
It's a very important distinction these days. And honestly, I think I speak to people on a regular basis who are usually more honest about their feelings, even if sometimes they are not nice about them, because I hang out with the prog team. And that involves plenty of people who can be, very sassy, very expressive. But for the most part, we're honest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we're honest about may be different in 5 minutes. I've been having a couple of funny conversations with Dallas about how Dallas will say one thing in the moment on mic, and then I'll talk to him like 2 weeks later off mic, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, this he's like, this card is banned. It will never be unbanned. I hate this card." Talk to him 2 weeks later, he's like, "Oh yeah, that card can come back off the ban list." And I'm like, Dallas, come on, help me out here, because I remember what people say usually when I converse with them. I try to remember these facts, so like that tailors a lot of my experience, and we end up in some very funny conversations sometimes about what is and isn't okay. And obviously, some of that is just the situation changes. We had kind of an interesting one this week. Axe kind of broke his dry streak a little. He got it's been a couple days, I can say this. He went to the easy win. He demolished the Suck Boys. Actually, it was a Suck Boys reunion. I just realized, guys. He demolished me in an easy 2-0. He demolished Loth in like 4 minutes, literally. After Loth, by the way, had a 45-minute best of 3 match with Marth that went to all 3 games. Like, it was a really drawn out, really cool back and forth series of games. He gets demolished in 4 minutes in the semis. And then defeated Dallas, playing probably one of the best decks Dallas has played in a couple of weeks in finals as well. And we were just like, well, okay, that was an experience. And we were doing the bands right after, and I was talking my thoughts after, and I'm like, yeah, I think I go first because I was the first match out, and I'm like, there's a couple of other cards in the meta I want to hit, but I think I have to hit Axe's deck. This is like the second time he's won this tournament with this deck, and we didn't do anything at all about that, and I think we should do a little something. We should reflect in the rules that, man, this wasn't okay. So yeah, we did some round of bans, and it's interesting to see like during the match, I'm salty on camera because I'm doing very poorly. For those of you who don't understand what I mean by this, I did what we call bricking. When you draw 5 cards and all of them are useless, your hand might as well be filled with a brick. That's bricking. These are literal useless objects to you. You would be better if you could throw stones at your enemy than use the cards you have. So I bricked pretty hard both times in like completely different ways, and especially in the second game, like Axe just had fucking everything. He was all gas, and yeah, I get a little. I've talked about this. To deal with my frustration, I get like a little yelly, a little cussy. I stamp and scream and swear. Because the only other outlet I've ever had in life is like physical energy, but that's bad. I need my hand bones where they are, guys. So I don't like bang my desk or anything a lot because that hurts my poor hands.
Oh yeah, listen guys, the fucking trials in Final Fantasy, especially the later ones, they get fucking wild.
But and I can't really like run around my room because I've got my mic arm and my headset that I'm plugged into, so it's like I get a little yelly, but it passes. Like we're cracking jokes about things or I'm cracking jokes about 5 minutes later, and like Axe does not necessarily handle StudiOmega very well. Like at one point he's like, man, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm gonna like fold and go home. And I'm like, okay, well do it then, because I'm not gonna be happy about that either way. Like if you want to just quit because I'm annoyed because you're really kicking my ass right now. I mean, that's how it is. Dallas gets kind of like quietly salty, and he's over it in like 5 minutes, but you can tell when he's just had like, wow, I saw none of the cards I wanted to see that game. I got absolutely demolished. That match sucked. Your deck sucks, and I hate everything. And then he's like 5 minutes later, he's like, all right, cool. See you next week. So, we go through these cycles. I try to keep some of when we get a little too hot, I try to keep some of that off mic in the in-between segments. I've had to talk to the guys a couple of times about like what I think is like some frustrating thoughts and ideas in play and our own like pet peeves. We keep all that out of the audio. But generally, like I feel much better at home with those guys like directly discussing our problems than sometimes I feel like with people who are like we I don't want to dog on this guy too much, but we had a comment in the mailbag where a guy was like, I'm gonna go talk about how this thing is bad and move on, and we were both like, damn dude. Loaded much? Like, tell us how you really feel. Jeez. Because like it's when you just kind of like casually throw out your opinion like that, it's like, okay, I get that you want to like express yourself and vent. We have a lot of people who just pop into like our general channel are just like, blog the universe blog, and they're like, sorry, just had to vent. And everybody's like, it's okay, it's all right, we understand, shit's going on. But like to just like casually throw out your opinion and then just also rapidly move out of the way so that like it doesn't get challenged or explained in any way. That kind of sucks.
I'm getting a call from my mom.
Perfect. The sync on that was great. Lucky yells, I'm getting a call from my mom. I'm watching the preview. He's fighting a giant water guy swinging his sword at him. For the fucking timing. And he has to go. Oh my god. Perfect. Also, yes, we had another illegal future card DQ. We're working on that one. Not a banned card, but a future card. This one was a little funny because all throughout the thing, like all through that night, I was like, everybody remember, this is week 44. It's just this set, not that set. Yeah, I was kind of talking about our different back and forth. Like, honestly, like I said, Axe, sometimes you're not always the best with expressing what you think are compliments, but you're genuine, and I appreciate that. I appreciate usually how we're honest with each other in the prog, and it's a lot better than some of the like weird, faux polite bullshit we get in the Discord, because we don't really want to start any. Like I said, we don't want to start shit, but also, we'd appreciate if you're honest with your opinions. It's okay. You just don't be like mean to anybody. But no, the future DQ was. It's like the curse of like, because I brought it up, it happened. It reminded me of last week, not this week, where I was like, all right, guys, you remember how to do semis, right? You're going to do RPS, and then you're going to surrender so we can go to the sideboard immediately. And then like 2 or 3 times people started playing the game. And I don't remember if it was last week or the week before that I even did that. I was like, oh, wait, shit, we're supposed to surrender. I got a great hand. So it's funny how these little call-outs like keep coming back. But all right, I see Lucky is moving, but I believe he seems to be still talking. I'm going to take a refreshing yawn.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
It was just one.
I vamped a little bit.
Sorry, it's just one of those things. I'm trying to play a game. I'm trying to do this. I'm like, no, so many things.
Oh, well, like I said, I called out the timing because that was like doing the like active maneuver thing for the giant sword swing, and I'm just like, this is very complex right now. Like, he's got a lot going on.
Just like,
Speaking of Lucky, want to talk about Alan Wake? We should at least chill for the stream.
Yeah. So, the
Monday.
The what? Yeah.
So Monday.
Monday. We got together. We decided to do Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the remaster version because I believe when did the first one come out? Was it like 2011?
We looked this up. It was like, yeah, something like that.
A decade ago.
A literal decade.
And I had played it before, so I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. It was not a cakewalk. This is one of those things of those games of like, I kind of blame the game design, but I mostly blame myself because I wasn't expecting this type of game. I was kind of expecting more. This game is much more survival horror. The game was much more survival horror than action horror than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a little weird because like you think from the way it's set up, where you're Alan Wake, you're just a writer. It's spooky. It would be a little more like spooky horror, but there's definitely leaning into some of those action elements. Makes sense though. We talked about this. The game developers, like the first couple games they did was Max Payne. So
yeah, so they have their action set pieces, but for a little bit I kind of feel like they're not entirely sure where they wanted to go with their combat design. Because this is the thing that kills me. I think that kills me about the game. The game doesn't necessarily want you to fight everything, but it also doesn't give you the tools to run away properly. Like, I don't think it does.
No, it wants you to conserve resources like survival horror style, but also it's like, oh, there's like 50 dudes. Maybe you should run away. Oh, no, I just got beat up. No, I can't run away.
Like I said, because I tried this several times of, let me just run away, and I turn around and they're literally on my heels, just like, I
talked about that. I'm like, I think those guys are like literally faster than you now.
They're like, I'm gonna get you.
Teleportation powers.
Just, I'm gonna get you, and I'm just like, okay, so I can't
throw monkey wrenches at your head.
Yes, and they're very accurate.
I mean, it's very funny sometimes as you're running away and I just see a fucking meat cleaver like sail by your head. But no, it seems a little obnoxious sometimes too.
Yeah. But like, so I think I have some gripes about the combat, but I think I hopefully have. I don't think I'm probably still gonna die several more times. This is just how it is. I've accepted this, but I'm hoping to enjoy the aesthetic of Alan Wake. Because here's the thing, Alan Wake is a game that I feel is like equal parts fucking Twin Peaks, Silent Hills, and fucking your classic Call of Cthulhu kind of going on. Because I said Stephen King, right? Twin Peaks.
You
Okay.
mentioned Twin Peaks, but also Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Literally starts with an epigraph quoting a Stephen King.
Yes. So, because basically, the way that Alan Wake's is you're a writer. You go to ye old Pacific Northwest town. My first thought that was going to be Maine. It was closed. It was just literally the other coast.
Yeah.
But
go to Bright Falls.
Yeah. Go to Bright Falls. You need to get away. You're gonna have a vacation to relax because you're a writer and you're having writer's block. Only you don't get to because your wife is all like, "You need to write," and you're like, "God damn it, wife." And then
Alice, your photographer wife, is like, "Hey, I brought your typewriter, your old ass manual typewriter, because I thought that like the Mountain Air would like make you want to write." And you're like, "God damn it, Alice, no, I don't want to write."
But no, your wife get kidnapped, and you're like, "Oh no!" And you jump in afterward. You wake up a week later. You have a concussion, and shit is weird. Your wife is missing, and apparently you wrote in a fucking fugue state about
you wrote at least a novella.
Yeah.
And you apparently wrote what's happening.
Yeah, you wrote the future.
Because if you sometimes find pages that describe shit that is about to happen, like running into Carl Stuckey or the poor Fish and Wildlife guy, the park ranger getting killed.
And so, like, I enjoy the aesthetic of this because we kind of have like a thriller mystery going on because the game is separated into day-night segments, which I think is interesting. Basically, during the day, you like run around, you talk to people, you find out things, you go around different locations. This is where a lot of your exposition and lore come in. But then night happens, and you're trying to fucking maybe get to a place in the dark, and that's when all the combat happens and all the spooky stuff happens. So I do like the back and forth of it.
Yep.
So, sorry, I have to stop this giant sword with my book. No, literally, again, it's just that I'm holding it up with my book. It's great. The pen is mightier than the sword. So, aesthetically, I love this game, because, like I said, I've always been a fan of the Pacific Northwest weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is, but we have a lot of just weird, like, paranatural, supernatural stories up in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know why. I really don't.
Yeah, I think a lot of places have their own little legends, but it's definitely, I think it comes from like certain types of terrain isolation, and you've got that very interesting kind of transition because you've got like direct access to the ocean a lot of places through the sound, because you got like a lot of little inlets and lakes and stuff there, so there's a lot of like coastal energy. You've got mountains, but you've also got really, really dense forests in the rain, so it kind of like has the like, you can imagine that even though this is a very popular, well-populated area, it's also like really easy to just like go up in the hills or go up the coast and be somewhere in like the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, no, it's actually really easy. Like, I was actually trying to figure out where this location would be. It'd probably be probably not as far as the Olympic Peninsula, where actually no, it might be the Olympic Peninsula because there were actual mountains there.
But it's like you can so easily slip out there and be that different. Like think about another game that was in this ethos that we really liked, like the original Life is Strange, right? Where it's just a small coastal town, You've got some woods around, you could go up into some foothills a little bit, train tracks and stuff, Like it's you feel connected enough that you're not like true blue isolation, contemplate the meaning of the universe type shit, but
Mhm.
also like it's just enough where you can feel off the beaten track and weird shit can happen.
Mhm.
Like I think that's probably why like New England has that sometimes in some
Oh yeah.
areas. There's
Oh
something I
yeah.
think is just due also with like the age of everything. Like
Oh
there's a
yeah.
lot of history there that lends its Lovecraft Country has kind of a different than Spooky Pacific West. And in Florida, we kind of got our own resonance because there's so much of the like Everglades out there, right?
Mhm.
Which is like right next door to everything. Also, the state's a lot bigger than you think it is. We're very long down here, so
I mean, I
you
think
can really get out of the way.
I always think about like Florida and Louisiana when I start thinking about fucking like voodoo and the Caribbean and Bayou kind of.
Yeah, we have some Santeria and some voodoo down here.
Yeah.
Florida also, I think, has that interesting, the like South Central and North Florida is like kind of different dichotomies. Like if you go all the way to North Florida, that's basically the deep South Okefenokee type stuff.
Mm.
Central Florida is where there's a lot of like a decent amount of like reserves and stuff and orange groves, cattle, and swamps. But also that's Orlando, Disney World, or Universal. Our weird theme park thing, which also lends the state a weird mystical quality. Because there's really impossible shit does happen down here, and then you go to South Florida and it's like big beaches, the very famous Miami beachfront that everybody knows because it's in TV and movies and stuff, kind of a thing, and that's got an entirely different like look to everything and attitude. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because of the hurricane thing, we have a unique brand of construction here. It's called "Don't Get Knocked Over by Hurricanes." There's something special about concrete, low, sometimes squat concrete block houses in pastel colors.
Yeah, I know that.
That's the life down here.
Yeah, I know that look.
Yeah. And like I think this is why like I said, West Virginia, because having been up there, I've once upon a time I had some of my family owned like a little cabin up there. I don't know if they but like that's like you get the Appalachians aren't as tall as the Rockies. They're still tall. I've lived in like Blue Ridge Mountain area kind of thing. Those mountains are tall when you're a human man.
Human man.
Or a human child. That was in my long ago. So like you get these like deep valleys, tall mountains, and really thick woods, and there's just something primal about some dense forests,
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, I mean,
your field of view is limited, so like it harkens to the imagination. It's very Hitchcock.
I mean, like, well, no, we can just talk about this. Do you know how many fucking old folklore is about bad shit happening in the woods?
Yeah, it's almost like there's some kind of weird human complex about don't wander into the woods, something bad will happen.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's probably, well, you'll fall in a hole or a stream, or you'll get, bit by a snake. This is kind of interesting talking about, because the big weekend video was, as I predicted, Red finally posted her big werewolf video.
Yeah.
Not quite as conspiracy theory as I was thinking, because werewolf lore gets very confusing, but it was a very deep dive about, like, all right, this happens, and then this totally weird different thing happened, and it's crazy. But, like, thinking about, like, why do we have these kind of, like, thoughts and feelings about, like, say, wolves and stuff? And I mean, like, if you think about it, especially, like, European classic, there haven't been wolves in parts of Europe for, like, hundreds of years. And wild wolves don't really fuck with people unless you fuck with them.
Mm-hmm.
But also humans fuck with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's definitely, like, a back and forth. There are other territorial animals, bears, boars, other stuff. You gotta watch out. You gotta respect nature. In America, also, we have so much wolf connotation because of this whole, colonization thing, and all of our sweet passive English livestock who hadn't ever heard of a wolf in their lifetime were easy pickings. Which kind of fueled a control campaign. And like, I mean, I'm a big softie. I like animals. Dogs are cool, but also like on the other hand, I understand pragmatism. Like I think there were a couple points where Red is like, yes, we realize that destroying creatures just because you don't understand them is not worth it. I'm like, okay, we don't need to excessively, but like, your livestock is literally your livelihood. She even mentioned earlier in the video, starvation was a real problem for some of these colonists. Like, would you prefer we, ran out of meat and died? Like, I like animals, and I think humans, should not be protected from their own stupidity. But like, damn, dude, if you're talking about human lives over animal lives, I mean, I understand. So like, I kind of understand some of the pushback, but then as usual in this country, we kind of like went overboard. Like, I don't think you needed like a marketing campaign to drive home to people that like, hey, if you do see a wolf nosing around at your property, it's probably a bad idea. It might decide to eat your livestock. It could eat your small children if they're out there.
Well,
humans probably don't taste for it though.
No. Well, do you know what we did? Well, I don't say we did, but one of my friends, my ex, they had a farm out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and we don't have wolves out here, but we do have coyotes.
Yeah, those guys are fuckers.
Yeah,
they're way too smart for their own good.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're way too smart. So, a lot of farmers would just work out an agreement. They'll take out cause especially for for calf ranchers. Like, here's the thing: cows, they die real easy when they're young. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, herd animals have certain survival strategies, which often involves pranking them out on the reg.
But so what a lot of ranchers would do is, instead of tossing the fucking calves into the garbage, no, they just go drag them out into the middle of the fucking woods and leave them for the coyotes. And guess what? The coyotes eat them, and they're like, "No, we good, fam."
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about the animal world is animals aren't usually like greedy. Like, obviously animals can get it too easy and like go to excess and all that kind of problems with humans fucking up their behavior. But like usually if big game predators are full, they're fucking full. Their survival strategies are designed so that they don't overeat, so they can be environmentally sustainable, you know? And like, this, by the way, is part of why I'm like, I know some people are like, oh, no hunting at all. I'm like, I don't think you understand. There's some, because humans have interfered with the natural order of things, there's some shit we got to keep a handle on. Deers can be a huge pest animal.
Well, I'm saying nature balances itself out eventually.
Yeah, but the problem is that, like, once again, talking about those things we're talking about, like with livestock and agriculture and stuff, humans will probably not be comfortable, and it may not be safe for us to like invite wolves back into our lands to take care of these deer that they're not taking care of naturally. It's a complex relationship that could go bad for both parties.
Yeah.
So occasional deer hunting is probably okay.
Oh yeah.
It would be better if we could trust them to be.
You meant deer hunting. I thought you were talking about
deer hunting. No, you don't need to shoot wolves. They're endangered for a reason.
Yeah.
That's another thing, by the way, talking about like, hey, why are wolves suddenly cool? Well, it's because in the 70s we passed the Endangered Species Act, and we developed this whole psyop to like make people feel bad for wolves, and it's a whole thing.
Well, wolves are just cool. Fuck you, people.
Also, yeah, wolves are cool. I mean, everybody should know wolves are cool, but it's definitely like, it's a thing where like you see this transition where like wolf was like really easy coding for bad guy, the big bad wolf, all that stuff, and then we just kind of scooch around. But yeah, no, like the thing about like big predators is like, yeah, they do gotta eat a lot, and sometimes that means they gotta take swipes at like easy prey, and unfortunately domesticated animals are usually easy prey. We have taught them to be dumb and to just sit around. We probably do overfish, and we should watch out for certain populations. But I also suspect that if fish overcompensated too hard, that might be a problem for some regions. Like, the general thing about nature is balance is important. Most everything is at a state of equilibrium, and humans can upset that equilibrium because we can, use all our technological advancement and everything. But if you stop cold turkey on some of that stuff, that means that nature will no longer be in equilibrium, and it'll unbalance out the other way, and it'll probably be fucking dumb. It's that classic, nursery rhyme of, called the frog to eat the fly. Call the fox to chase the frog kind of a thing. Like, a lot of your problems cascade. You got to watch out for them. You got to be careful and conscientious in your planning. But yeah, no, to cycle back to Lucky's original story, that absolutely works, because animals are smart enough to learn stuff like, hey, free food, and it's not like they're not like the mafia. They're not going to be like hanging out your door and be like, hey, now you owe us 2 calves, or something will happen. You'll have an unfortunate accident. You're like, no, they're like, hey, free food. We ate.
We will
cool.
not
we'll be
eat.
Good for a while.
Yeah. Because usually, like, what people don't understand is usually, like I said, and the wolves, they're smart. They don't necessarily, they know, because they understand the risks if they go, like, crawling around human lands. Guys, your scent is everywhere on your lands. They know. They know
they understand, you know, territory markers and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of animals understand not necessarily to be afraid of humans, but to be cautious of humans because we're not as big as some creatures, but we're not exactly small either, you know. So humans are a decently sized creature. We probably make a lot of fucking noise.
But yeah, no, but like coyotes and stuff, they do hunting on their own. So usually they go onto lands when either when they literally just aren't getting enough in their own lands through like their own territory disputes and whatnot and stuff. So if there's just a free meal waiting for them, it's like, all right, this might hold us over until we can sort whatever out bullshit's happening.
Yeah.
So
I did also like, by the way, that Rit had to discuss some funny internet things, especially like the quote unquote social dynamics of packs, which get translated to a lot of werewolf fiction, which are also fake.
Oh yeah. There's no
the
such thing.
the whole like alpha, you know, pack alpha dominance thing. That's wolves on prison rules.
Yeah.
That's wolves in captivity that we've jammed together. Normal pack hierarchies is the alpha animals are just the parents, and you're just the rest of the pack are just the younger wolves that hang around until they're old enough to like separate and look for their own mates. So like wolf packs are actually family units. Usually. Now that this has stopped the internet, but you know.
You can't stop the internet.
Also, listen, sometimes fictional tropes in fiction are better than real ass tropes. Though, you know, if you want to do your good old fashioned funny haha clan stuff, you know, werewolf clan, go for it. Also, apparently, she talked about this in the credits. She had a whole segment on Twilight, but then was like, if you could like look them up, they're not even actually really werewolves. It's just a whole thing, and she just cut it. And I'm like, my God, the lore, deepest internet cut. Oh yeah, we got a little from Alan Wake because we were talking about like spooky shit and how it all works out. But Alan Wake seemed good. I didn't take over the controller or anything. I don't know how with the input lag it would work with like dodging and stuff. Sometimes the controls seemed a little clunky from, you know, the passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize immediately, but I caught on quickly that the way dodge and sprint works is a little weird. You have to like dodge into the sprint.
Well, yeah, that's the game telling you should probably run away from this combat encounter. But this is the thing I'm talking about. It's like running away does nothing.
Yeah. But like it's like you got to dodge and then use the sprint to get some distance. Now, whether that's a distance to like get to a safe haven and end the combat or distance just so you can safely shoot guys, kind of up in the air sometimes.
Yeah.
I love our jokes about Rider time. It's got the witch time mechanic. You dodge just the right moment, time slows. So.
Rider time. That's the official name of it.
Yep. Oh, we have a lot of Rider jokes because there's a lot in there. Like it does something that I'm really glad for, which is Alan Wake constantly narrates to himself about how he's feeling about things and what's going on, and it really builds the atmosphere. It makes it feel like one of those first-person narration horror stories, like a lot of classic H.P. Lovecraft, like some Stephen King kind of stuff. Like, and yes, it's very cliche. It's, you know, very overwrought sometimes, but it works because that's the story it's telling. You know, it's a deliberate homage. And like. Everything is so on the nose like that. Like, you literally roll up to, you know, Bright Falls. You go to the fucking diner. The girl who runs the diner is a fan.
They have a fucking stamp.
She bought your fucking standee from the bookshop after your last book. There's the little old lady who knows all, and she's got a lamp with her, which is a reference to the log lady from Twin Peaks. You know.
Oh, this melon. That's the Allegan melon. It doesn't have a name. My name is Sareth Lilithkin. That's just the Allegan melon.
That occasionally splits itself in the background.
Yes. Listen, no one is ready for Endwalker. But I'm trying to get stuff done in prep to Endwalker. That's why I'm trying to have a nice apartment.
Yeah, that's been a long lead up because I know that got you and a lot of people back into the game more seriously, and that feels like ages ago.
Well, yeah, they dropped
actually dropping.
That's actually dropping in 3 weeks.
Okay, good. Just before the end of the year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people thinking about it. That reminds me of a segue, but if you have anything more to say about Alan Wake, we should probably cycle back to that.
Not really. Just I'm a little concerned that it didn't seem that the Alan Wake was super popular.
Yeah, it's a little sluggish though. It's not as bad as some of the drop off in some of our late end Kina videos. That one I did randomly on a Tuesday has like 50 views, which I think is just all the hardcores because it was not at the regular time.
Mm-hmm. Listen, Robin, I'm good at multitasking.
Also, I don't know if 3 weeks actually is Crimbo Lotto time.
It could be.
Because pull up my list. 3 weeks from now, that would be exactly the 20th. So that'll be that Anime NYC thing. But it's interesting to see. We will though go ahead and if you are, well, yeah, I know. If you guys haven't watched it, do go out and check out the Alan Wake thing. It's interesting. It's got some spookums. There's some very ham-fisted jump scares that get both of us.
Mm-hmm.
When spooky old darkness lady just jumps in front of the screen for no reason, we're just like, wow, why? Why did we do that?
Why
did this happen? But there's also, I think we have a decent amount of fun snarking at it. And kind of the funny commentary because it's got its like atmospheric spooky moments, but also there's some stuff that you can just kind of like embrace and relax a little.
Mm-hmm.
I've always talked about how that's how I like to run my horror scenarios, is to kind of like let people, you diffuse the tension and you raise the tension. You get kind of that black humor in there.
Oh yeah. Listen, Barry's a great fucking tension break.
Yes. And I love how we oscillate to like, God damn it, Barry, to like, Barry, no. Because like Barry, your agent, he fucking calls you to yak at you about the book and all that stuff, and you're like, God damn it, Barry. And then when you're missing for a week, Barry shows up. This motherfucker from New York, from your New York book agent, shows up to Bright Falls in Washington State in a Hawaiian shirt and a puffer jacket and cargo shorts.
Yep.
He's at least wearing hiking boots, which is better than Alan Wake, who goes everywhere in his loafers and his fucking tweed jacket with leather elbow patches.
And under a fucking hoodie.
Yes, and he's got a hoodie under it, so he can be warm. It's very windy in Alan Wake. I'm sure he's cold. But yeah, it's a good time. You should go check it out if you haven't already. We will be continuing that series for the foreseeable future, and then we gotta figure out whatever else the heck we're on.
I'm on the North American Data Center, by the way.
But that does remind me of another small bit of news, which is, speaking of like release dates and stuff, little sad but understandable. CD Projekt Red has clarified they have pushed all next-gen updates and free DLC to 2022.
Oh, why?
Apparently just keeping up on the patches and stuff, and it sounds like they're trying to do everything more sustainable now, and a little slower means that they're taking longer. So they're like, don't expect it before 2022. And I'm like, that's sad, but I understand. Apparently they've also said that they are planning on trying to be less hype about their announcements now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see if they stick to that. But I understand. They got their eye blacked a little bit. You and I both had very measured expectations because we saw this coming from a mile away. Guys, you're talking about Cyberpunk 2077 like it's going to cure cancer. I don't think it will. But some people did, and I think it burned out on them. But like, the game is good, and it'll look back. And I know some people still like to take shots. This annoys me, by the way, when OSP does it, because they both of them talk about kind of backseat game design stuff sometimes, and I'm like, all right, guys, just because you have a big channel on YouTube, you yell about history and stuff. Like, yes, was it good for them to do a bad release? No, but obviously there's a lot of like complex business factors involved. I think we talked about this. It's reasonably certain based on what happened that it was because they were like, they needed to make the money back on development before like the next quarter and stuff, or they were going to be in trouble with certain outlets, Yeah. So like they'd already pushed the game a lot. It had to come out, and yeah, it looks bad. And like, there's that famous Miyamoto quote about, you release a bad game, it's bad forever. But what if it's not bad forever? Like it's. And I heard from several people who are fans of CD Projekt Red that apparently like Witcher 3 was buggy when it launched too. Like I don't think it was as bad. I think they cleaned it up a little faster, probably because it was less technically complex. Mm-hmm. But like, you can actually fix games that launch bad now. And also, I gotta be real, wasn't that bad. Like, yeah, I know I had the benefit of playing on the PS5, but like in that context, yes, was it the game that crashed the most out of any game I've played like on the PS5 since. Oh yeah. That doesn't mean that I don't have crashes. Lucky had that recurring bug with Carrion. I've had some other games like bug out and crash. Hell, I had a couple of crash desktops playing the PS5 version of Spider-Man, the enhanced edition. Only a couple, but I had some, you know. So like, but like otherwise, my experience was pretty good. I very rarely got graphical glitches. Yeah, sometimes my hands freaked out, but you just reload it and it's fine. I think they've done a lot with the patches as well to improve. Like it's cleaned up a lot. They've done so much. And honestly, some of that would have been wrong even if they'd taken another like 2 months or 2 years to develop, because it sounds like it's one of those classic things where the players had to get a hold of it. Oh yeah, did Kina crash? I think it might have crashed once. I definitely know that we had some weird bugs. I think I had to reload a save spot once because I got like stuck in the geometry. Like games are complex; they're not always perfect. Like I will say, it's definitely was one of the buggy games because like I knew every time I booted that game up, it would be like, okay, we're gonna crash at least once this session. But I think it was fun and I enjoyed it. I'm waiting for that like free DLC. You know, like I definitely want there to be a little more content depth, because that's what left me wanting with Cyberpunk was like, I think we talked about this. How do we phrase it? I think it was like we said it's like 80% of the way to a finished game in terms of like the content, and it just needs that extra like 20% of polish with like maybe some more missions and some more story interactivity options. And also some of the cosmetic stuff they said would be in there. What? What was that?
What? Like again, like I said, like I objectively probably had the worst experience as I played it on the PS4, as we have told you many times before, and I was able to beat the game at least once. I'm just honest as like I beat it once. I'm okay for right now. I'll wait before I beat it again.
Yeah. Well, and you'll get the full. You'll probably wait until they do the next gen update, and you get that full shiny new next gen experience. You know. Like,
oh yeah.
I played technically the old gen version on next gen, which was just the PS5 had more processor juice to like run everything out, but there were still some underlying problems in the code. Video game development's very weird, and I do genuinely think, right, like, yes, you guys should focus on more sustainable development. You should not work on like cramming and crunch time and all that stuff, but like, we get a lot of really dirty word about crunch, and I'm like, okay, like if you're not getting paid for the hours you put in, and like management is like, no, you must come in and kill yourself to finish the project, yeah, that's bad. But that's not always what happens when people think of crunch time. Like in my life, I've crunched on projects before. I've been to college, I've had to finish a project by midnight at 6 p.m. And sometimes life is like that. Like we don't always get to pick our deadlines,
Right.
And I think this is something you were talking about a little bit in that con conversation, lots of other stuff. Like, companies are complex. I kind of wish they could be simpler, but they are complex. And sometimes there's a lot of money and a lot of, like, management shit on the line. And is it fair that sometimes employees have to suck that up? No, but that is the price of being large, is sometimes shit gets complex and messy.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but that is how it is. When you're a big machine with a lot of momentum, shit gets more complex. Like, if everybody could be like, all the dev tools could exist so that, like, 5-man teams could do all this stuff, on their own time and whatever, that would be cool. And that's why a lot of, indie games work out and a lot of cool stuff. Oh, actually, that reminds me. Maybe this was last week. Lucky, did you see that, the Stardew Valley guy is working on his next game?
Oh, that's lovely. Go Concerned
I can't remember
Ape.
what he called it. But it looks like it's got a similar art style and may actually be like a soft sequel.
Cool. Also, to what you said, Crystal Starlight, how you plan for the unexpected is wiggle room. You need buffer space, and you need contingencies.
Buffer time. You need to work on.
Yeah.
Haunted Chocolatier. That's what it's called. Posted a YouTube video about a week ago. You haven't seen it, Lucky?
I have not.
People at home. Stardew is one of the games I bought last Steam sale that I still haven't picked up. I haven't felt the great desire to return to the land and kill a lot of time. I'm sure I will, though. That's what that game is about.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah. Lucky's got I believe, a pretty complete playthrough on our channel that was streamed. You guys should look it out if you haven't seen it already.
I believe it's like what I did the 2 years till I got graded. I think it was.
Yeah, I think you did the 2 years till you got graded. You didn't do like quote unquote like post game or extended play, but you did the full 2 years. You got married, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a pretty full playthrough. But yeah, so like there's a lot of complex stuff going on, and like that's the thing is you have to be flexible. Lucky, and I say this all the time. Um, this is an actual quote from like generals and stuff are thinking this. No plan survives contact with the enemy.
Mhm.
What is the enemy? That depends on the situation. Time is often your enemy though.
Yes.
And so you have to be prepared for like you're gonna run into stuff. And like I don't mean that in an antagonistic way. Like don't treat the consumer as your enemy or something. But like the fundamentals of no plan survives contact is you can have a plan. It can be the greatest plan in the world. You're going to run into variables because you don't control everything. And trying to control everything, one, makes you a douchebag, and two, will drive you insane because it's not possible.
Yes.
It's an impossible goal, and you'll be an asshole. So don't try. I know some people try to control all the variables, but it's not possible. The universe is very complex. But what you do is you leave yourself wiggle room because you're going to encounter variables, and then when those variables get involved, you have to work on them and be ready to go. And sometimes you're not, and sometimes you are. Like with Cyberpunk 2077, I think they ran out of time. Like they kept delaying it, they kept trying to extend it, and they just couldn't extend it long enough to be perfect. And somebody in the business decided, fuck it, we'll release it anyway. The team is killing themselves trying to meet this deadline anyway. We could push it, but we'll be in trouble if we do that anyway. Let's just run it out to the end, get it out there, and if it's bad, we'll fix it.
We'll
and
fix
it
it
won't
in
be
post.
bad on new consoles. Yeah, fix it in post. Which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. Lots of movies have been salvaged in the editing room, guys. Lots of movies are dog shit when they're filmed, and then the editor comes along and makes them better. So, like, have wiggle room. Reminds me, I think I also talked about this last week. I did watch that whole series of, the third season of movies that made us, talking about a lot of like classic horror movies and stuff. God, Aliens was such a clusterfuck.
Really?
Of behind the scenes, yeah. If you haven't heard this story, I'll explain it briefly. So, basically, what happened was James Cameron was like asked to do a treatise on an Alien sequel, like to come up with a plan. And let me double check the time dates. So, Aliens was released in 1996. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was 1991. So, but did Cameron also do the first Terminator?
I want to say
The Terminator 84 film. It was written by James Cameron, produced by Galen Hurd, who got married to Cameron, directed by Cameron. Yeah, so basically, Cameron was asked to do the treatment for this. And I think it was a direct result of the fact that he did the Terminator, right? Mm-hmm. So like he got a sci-fi kind of action movie under his belt. They asked him to do a treatment, and he did it all, and he caught up this whole thing, and he really studied the movie. Like it was a really good sequel. It involved tied directly to Ripley's character arc and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then it was about to go to pre-production, and somebody realized that the studio hadn't asked Sigourney Weaver to come back yet.
Oh no!
So they at first were like, fuck it, we don't need her, it's fine. And then Cameron was like, no guys, you don't understand, we need her back. And they called her up, and she was gracious enough to be like, okay, this is a little weird, show me the script. And then she read it, and she was like, oh, I'm in every page. Okay, I'll do it. Like, oh, this is a really good script, and I'm in it a lot. Cool. But to save money and production, the studio decided to film in the UK at Pinewood Studios with a British crew, because the original film was shot there. This caused a lot of tension because, at the time anyway, and I think even still some people talk about it in this way, James Cameron is a very driven director. He is like, okay, we're on the clock, we're working until it's done. Because he came from like a low budget B movie background, right?
Right.
So he worked with Roger Corman, infamous for cheesy monster movies and stuff. So like, yeah, he is all about that. Okay, we all work, we all do like 4 jobs, we work all the time until it's done, kind of a thing. The British crew was not that way. Their union has mandated tea breaks, like, so this caused some problems when, like, they would perfectly light the shot, they would bust out the smoke machine, and then the fucking studio doors roll open, and here's the tea trolley lady. So like the movie was in crisis a lot, and like the crew practically revolted a couple of times. The cast were not happy about some of the ways they had to work, but they also understood kind of Cameron's pain, and it only really came together because like Sigourney Weaver really wanted to get done, so she like stuck her neck out for the crew and like talked to Cameron and his wife Galen Hurd, and we're like, okay guys, come on, we got to come together, we got to finish the movie. And James Cameron was like, okay, I'm sorry, we're pushing really hard, we need to finish the movie, let's all come together guys and lock it in.
Way to go, Sigourney Weaver. More respect.
So like it's really interesting to hear about these things that on screen were great, but were like a real pain in the ass to make behind the scenes, because that's how it is when you're doing this stuff. Like shit happens, and some of it you don't get to decide because the studio bankrolling you was the one who decided how much money you needed and where you were going to film and stuff. So some shit is outside of your control, guys.
Yep.
But let's see. I think I got a couple of other things I want to mention then. We know what our November games are.
Oh yeah, that was. I'm actually somewhat excited for Kingdoms of Malamar. I played that back on the PS3 and I liked it.
Yeah, so that's one of them. That's the PS4 game, though obviously you can play it on PS5. Kings of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, the remaster version.
No, I'm excited.
They're also celebrating so many fifth anniversary of PSVR. So there's some extra PSVR games that I don't care about because I haven't bought a VR. Rip. But the other games are Knockout City, that dodgeball game that was really hyped up for a couple of months. Apparently, it's going to have like a new mode, and they're going to make it free. And the other one is First Class Trouble.
I saw this on the State of Play.
Yes, they had State of Play stuff. First Class Trouble is a social deduction game where you get together online and on a luxury space cruiser, and you have bad news people.
Yes. So we were on the Among Us train.
Yes, Among Us. I do believe this game was actually, and maybe by some of the same developers, it was actually, I think it was originally following the trend of The Ship, which we have played in the past.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm making that joke because Among Us is...
Oh, it's very popular.
Yeah.
By the way, Among Us is working on their roles update, which seems pretty interesting. I think they've revealed one of them is going to be the shapeshifter. You can literally shapeshift into other people. But you have a little animation and you leave evidence behind, so it's not like an easy bait. Seems interesting. Definitely like to see how that game is evolving. Games.
Oh yeah.
But so that'll be free. I don't think we're gonna jam that one pretty hard. I'll probably download it in case we ever wanted to do like a community thing, but I cannot imagine myself playing a social deduction game with randos.
I can't.
No, it's not a good. I would want to be in Discord so I could yell at people.
I like being able to yell at people.
And probably streaming. I mean, you can yell at people through the PlayStation mic, but it's not the same.
It's really not.
But that also means that we can also probably mention that this week Sony did a State of Play for some reason.
There's a big question mark on this.
I say for some reason because it was 22 minutes long. Now, listen, guys, I understand. We talked about this. It's better to be, short and sweet and focused. Don't, save up all your shots for, these crazy big trade shows. But also, like, really? Was this necessary?
I mean, they had some good announcements. I'm going to be real. They had some good announcements. Like,
yes.
King of Fighters, they announced, like, new stuff, new characters. People in our games channel was going absolute ape.
Yes.
That
was a pretty deep cut if you're a fighting game and a King of Fighters fan.
Yep. They showed the teaser for the it was actually I'll say it's a full trailer for the next Star Ocean, something I'm excited about because I love my space RPGs.
I'm not familiar with Star Ocean, but I watched that trailer and I'm like, I'm in. That looks cool.
Yeah.
We're doing RPG stuff with space.
Space
seems right.
And they got to show off some more stuff about Little Devil Inside, which is interesting.
Yeah, I like the art style, and it's kind of an interesting thing with the game design. Like, it's, kind of like an exploring thing, but, like, the art style is really cute, and I'm like, that's neat. We've seen a lot of these, like, stylized action-adventure games these days.
Mm-hmm.
There was a trailer for an action RPG earlier where you're a little bird man, possibly bird woman, I don't know, and you, like, run around and, slash and hack and stuff. There's apparently going to be some, I think it's free DLC for Bug Snacks. That's neat.
Meh.
Bugsnax is an okay game. It's perfectly serviceable it was perfectly serviceable as like a debut free game on the PS5.
Oh yeah, Let Us Die is next installment. I played Let Us Die. It was an okay game. I didn't know what the game wanted me to really do.
I played a little Let It Die. Yeah. It was neat, but also like it was basically just like trying to get kind of on that roguelike train, I guess, is the best way to put it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Which was like, okay, it's cool, but also, I'm gonna assume that's related to this Battle Royale game that was the first one, right? The first trailer? Or is that a different trailer I missed?
I'm not sure.
I don't fucking know.
I don't know anymore. What is life?
But there was an obvious Battle Royale cash-in game, and I'm just like, I mean, this aesthetic is cool. I will never play just a random Battle Royale game ever again. I do not like these kinds of games. They are not for me. The closest I would come is I would maybe play Fall Guys again, because that's like actually got like some interactivity, and I'm not actively trying to murder people most of the time. There's that one like really artsy game that I don't even know what the fuck it's about. The We Are OFK, and I'm like, this looks cool. I don't know why we're here though. And we also had a pretty drawn out teaser for or trailer for the new Five Nights game, Security Breach. Like, obviously it's had its big spooky trailers, but this actually has like a lot of gameplay elements. You know, I'm very excited to watch other people play this game. I'm not gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna play it. But I'll watch, you know, Markiplier and Game Grumps and shit play it and freak the fuck out. That'll be how I consume that media. Like, it does look like super big AAA. Like, there's a lot of like interactivity, rolling around, exploring, doing you know, actual like real horror, classic horror game stuff. But also like, nah, I'm good. I remember Five Nights for being a very very jump scary big boy game, and I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Good fam. Unfortunately, I don't remember much else about the...
That was it. I think we basically named all the games.
Okay, cool.
I even talked about Death's Door, which is the action RPG. Yeah, no, that's it. It was literally 23 minutes, and there were a couple of pretty deep dives in there. Like for the social deduction game, you know, for that they had the developers come out and talk about it kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And Star Ocean had a pretty big long trailer. You know, everything was pretty lengthy, so yeah, it was short and sweet. I know some people were like, was this the worst, you know, state of play so far? Maybe?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, like, it was small, but they still put in a bit of stuff.
Yeah, there was some, like I said, they focused on deep dives, and they said they were working with third-party stuff, so like, I think it hit its goals. I mean, I feel like maybe you should save news until you got like at least 30 minutes.
I think that's fair.
But otherwise, it's not, you know, weird or anything. Like I cared about some of the titles. I didn't care about some of the others, but that's how it goes. They showed off like there was another one that we did miss. They showed off some weird kart racer thing, and I'm like, I care about this even less than I care about the Final Fantasy kart racer, and that I don't really care about. So, but I'm sure people will be interested. You know, different people like different things. What was it? The last State of Play, which is really good. We still checked out for like 5 minutes or whatever when they talked about Gran Turismo.
I was about to say Cars. We always check out for Cars.
Yeah, Cars. It was the car game. I had to remember which car brand car game is on PlayStation, because one of them's on Xbox and one of them's on PlayStation, and I don't always remember the difference between the two. And I'm sure some people are very insulted by that, and, you know, a pox in my house and everything, and I just don't care, because I don't care. I mean, no offense, enjoy the thing you like, but, like, damn, I don't know. Okay, State of Play. Stretchy legs. I think the only other big thing I wanted to hit up from me, because I don't know if you got other stuff as you stand in this Zen garden and contemplate life.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
don't
I'm
know if
just.
you got any other topics to hit up, but I have
Uh,
one more big thing I wanted to talk about.
I'm trying to think here. No, I don't think so. I really do need to write down my anime thoughts. I need to write them down.
And that seems fair. I have to do that for stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Got to get your thoughts out. Got to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
But the one last thing I wanted to talk about was I did have an opportunity last week because I'd only just started it, but I basically after I did in fact finish that episode, go relax and stuff, was blasted through Death's Kiss, the Dodoji Shin mystery. It's a good book. I talked about this before, and I will double down on it. So I talked about how in the first book, Poison River, I could tell because I had also read Emerald Empire, the location supplement, that when the author was like, "Yo, can I have some notes?" somebody just literally handed him the source book, and he took from that liberally, right?
Right.
For Death's Kiss, either Josh Reynolds, the author, has to be like an old fan of some L5R stuff, or they are like liberally letting him write new content and access old lore, because like he is mentioning vassal families that haven't been brought up. They go to like specific villages in like unicorn territory, which isn't covered yet by the books. So
I wonder if like one of his editors ran it past like the pub, like the
probably. I know that they do still have like they have a story editor or a story lead still employed at Fantasy Flight.
Yeah.
Katrina Ostrander, who supervised a lot of the fiction in the initial release of the RPG and wrote the Crane Cran novella they're gonna bundle together. So like they have contacts for that. So like he definitely like is putting out feelers for lore and is getting feedback from somebody in the greater Asmodee sphere. So like, yeah, no, it seems cool. We're doing stuff. It's good, which I appreciate. Right.
Right.
So that's really good. It keeps all the same. It keeps all the same character tones. Everybody's still really good with everything. It has good like I would say serial mystery vibes. Like, because there are callbacks to previous characters, I think I talked about this last week, but like he gets involved in the current case because one of the characters from the last book like rings him up and is like, "Hey, you owe me for that thing from the last episode, so you'll do me a favor," and he's like, "Yeah, sure." So it's got those good vibes to it. The writing is excellent as always. Very funny. A little bit more backstory introspection. Daidoji Shin himself gets kind of an ally in the form of a buddy he knew, a unicorn clan magistrate who was trained by the Crane, so they used to hang out when they were younger. They got up to adventures together.
Adventures.
Kind of a thing. Yeah. His friend, I think it was Batu. It's been like a week since I read it. He's a little upset because he was flirting with some Kakita chick, and Shin kind of got in his way. But Shin was like, "No, you didn't understand. She was terrible for you. Wouldn't have worked out." And they kind of have some good bants. There's a lot of good background characters, but there's some deep lore cuts that, like I said, aren't even in the RPG yet, or weren't referenced in the card game because the card game has stopped. The living card game has stopped printing. Though they do still put out like legacy support for like errata and ban lists and stuff, which is cool. They're still printing the product; they're just not releasing new stuff. So it's neat how that worked out. So like, yeah, it's just a really good read. It's really good in universe. It keeps all the stuff you want to see. I've talked about this. I like the writer's technique of actually referring to the various vassal families by their vassal family name and not usually using the major clan name with them, so that like you can diversify the surnames of characters. Keeps it a little fresh. And it's good for a mystery which has a lot of... Usually mysteries have big, dramatis personae and are all geographically located, whereas, like, an L5R campaign could, like, take you multiple places to multiple, like, cultures, and you could run into a lot of different surnames that way. So it's good to diversify.
Yeah.
And it's a good read, and it's perfectly paced as a mystery where you figure out what's going on just before the characters do, kind of a thing.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, it accomplishes this by like it shows you scenes of other characters going about their villainous business but does not name them. So you get kind of the impression it's one character, but then as you're going on, you kind of realize, wait a minute, that's not that character. That's a completely different character. And like you catch it because of the way the book is written just before the characters have a chance to catch it. So, you feel like you're in on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize, when things can go good and go bad. And it's kind of nice. It's a good read. And not a super dense read. So, I chewed it through in a little bit. When I sit down to read next, I'll probably do a Night Parade of 100 Demons. Just knock that out of my way.
Yeah. Lucky's constantly buying light novels, so.
Yes. The question is, when is Lucky not? Lucky's reading right now. No, I don't think so. I don't think I could read a book. And do this dance.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also playing a game, so.
Yeah, I am.
But yeah, all right. That might be the wind up.
That might be the wind
Or
up.
wind down.
Wind up, yeah.
Wind up, wind down, same thing.
Get up, and get down. And something like that.
Jump up, jump around.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go through my mental list of things, and unfortunately, no, I don't got anything. So yeah, I guess that would be it.
All right, that seems like a good wrap up. Some people asked about TTRPG thoughts.
I guess we could, but
we're literally in the middle of something. Like this last little bit of the party scene has actually turned out really well. I'm very happy with how it worked out. I did some very nice NPC designs that did their job and like did not immediately lose to the player characters and actually got some hits in. Some pretty gnarly hits actually. We've been debating about whether or not whether needs a cybernetic implant to fix some permanent stat damage because it sucks a little bit. For how that shakes out.
We did also have a bit of a talk about how some of the crafting rules in Star Wars are a little lean.
Yes, and I think some of them have their reason. Like the gadget crafting thing, I think is definitely like they did it that way because they were like, you don't need crafting rules for narrative stuff. So this is just like, how do you simulate building basic tools? And I think honestly, about that time, they were probably, as they got to their more advanced crafting, they were probably starting to work on like Genesis. And I think that makes sense because they were figuring out how to like truly make the gear system generic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like a lot of those crafting templates for tools and gadgets is basically how Genesis teaches you how to build items. If you're designing your own settings, it's like, okay, so you have a thing that does a thing. It's the right tool for a job. It lets you make a skill check you can't normally make, and if it's really relevant, should probably give you a boost die. Other stuff gives you like advantage on this so that you're better at doing this thing, kind of a thing, and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to shake out. The cybernetics one though is definitely a little lean, considering that cybernetics are a little they're fairly diversified in Star Wars. They're not just like stat boosts. You can also get the digital lockpick. You can get like the repulsor fist. I'm gonna guess they probably just were like, you can craft
I think what they wanted to do is
you can craft weapons already.
What I think is what they wanted to do is to basically just have limbs that you can stick a tool or a weapon in. Really, so you can just have custom weapon limbs. And that's about it that I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
so,
know
like,
the grand goals, but still, it's just like, fuck.
It's the like implant weapons. I think they were just intending for you to like I said, just do something else there and like just be like, okay, you can make a brawl weapon and then just build it into your cybernetic. That's pretty easy to figure out. But it's definitely a little limited to like the different options. You can't go too ham. I think that's because unfortunately a lot of these cybernetics that aren't just +1 to a stat are usually based around giving you ranks in talents or skills, which is a thing they've kind of stepped away from in later, like in Genesis, for instance. I don't think of anything that gives you free ranks and talents anymore. Like it's very rare. Straight up skill mods are also like pretty limited. Because I looked at like the Android section and like I think all the things that give you skills are like they give you ranks in knowledge skills because you put a computer in your brain, you know. So I think they were kind of stepping away from that, and they knew that player characters would be able to go crazy on the crafting, so they decided just not to like figure that out. But it does mean that the cybernetics rules are very limited, which is kind of weird because that's literally a specialization. Cybertech is a spec, and if you want to make it more complex, you can make cybernetics its own int skill, right? Like you can add it as a bonus skill. I even debated this. I was like, how ham do I want to go on this? Well, do I want to make cyberteching a skill so like we can like make Boots take it and he can do something during downtime? But no, I don't think so because it's probably just it's not worth it because you don't get that much out of it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting proposition, but that's kind of a we have our funny back and forth conversations. We'll have more stuff as we figure out more about the rules. 80 episodes or 90 episodes in, basically. But we're gonna have a funny episode we're gonna be recording on Halloween, and I think because the last episode's still not updated.
Right? Did I not? God damn it!
Let me double check. I don't think you did.
I probably didn't.
We talked about it during Let's Talk FGO, so like I'm not surprised. Show me the content. Nope.
Good job. Lucky.
Last one was Big Balls.
Big Balls.
Which, believe it or not, YouTube had questions about whether or not it was suitable for all advertisers. Luckily, we got that cleared up. But the way to offset the permanent damage axe is to buy more spec trees and buy more dedication. That is technically true. Like, if you just live long enough to spend more EXP, you can fix the problem of your stat being permanently reduced. It's still a motherfucker. Like, I get why some permanent or indefinite reductions are there, but I kind of don't like the ones that affect stats because they're usually very nebulous. Like, blinded or maimed are specific, right?
Well, yeah, but also, like, you say that, but that still means you have to suck in. You have a void of XP.
Yeah, no, like you're literally you have to spend hundreds of EXP to fix it. Also, like,
yeah.
it's not permanent, but it's a motherfucker. Yeah, especially because we're in a very late campaign game, and like most of the player characters are where they want to be with their spec trees and stuff.
Yeah, no matter what, you will always be that stat -1 because of a crit. Like, oh god.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And we've edited the crit table before. I straight up ignore the one that says everybody's staggered for the rest of the encounter because that one's just like, oh cool, you literally can't engage with the action economy because the game isn't actually designed for you to be staggered for like more than one round. Otherwise, you just explode. So we just don't do that crit anymore. That was an early house rule too. I think that was somewhere in like the 20s or 30s. Martha hadn't even switched over to Wevu yet. Before I was like, nah, it's not okay. That's not cool. That probably means I'll be posting the most recent one on Halloween if Lucky gets it uploaded tonight, which I'm sure he can right after this stream is over. And we'll be wrapping up soon. I will spoil you. That episode is titled Bloody Stream. Yeah, so have fun with that. We used another JoJo OP. And a very appropriate one at that. But we don't really... I don't think we should deep dive because we don't want to give away too much with the setup because the people should listen. But it was a good episode. We had a lot of, like, slow character building and stuff, and then it got a really gritty kind of, like, lead up into the end with some stuff going on. Had some really good tension because you guys ended up kind of being split up for some stuff, and it was good. And we'll get back into it on Sunday and hopefully wrap this up. Yeah. I've got my rough sketch, and if we go super short on it, I can always dovetail in the downtime I know you guys are talking about taking now. The big plot theme of the last episode was like, what are vacation days?
I mean, I do enjoy that we actually had a lot of role play in the last session of just talking. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. But if it goes too short, I will like I said, dovetail into downtime and let you guys figure out some stuff because I know some people want to like in character take some off time to do some stuff, and also again may or may not be some medical rehab for Wevu, and so on and so forth. And I even have some of my outside like I actually was like, oh yeah, I could be using this extra time because the party thing's getting really drawn out to do more pre-writing for the next segment. So I have the briefing sketch for the next segment, but because it'll be a little more involved, I do not know whether or not we'll need to take that break for Sprawl. And we may just want to take that break for Sprawl anyway, just to shake our palate. It's been like Yeah, it's been almost like a year since we did that intro.
Has it?
I think so. Wasn't it early this year?
It might have been.
And like
Yeah.
we're about to go into November.
Oh, jeez.
Let me check. Let me pull up the
What
channel.
is
When was this all
time?
posted? I mean, this week's session, which will be recorded on Halloween, like I said, which is very funny, will be episode 90 of this. So let me check. The Sprawl. Okay, it's not that bad, but it's still been like 9 months. Sprawl Session 0 was published March 9th.
Oh, okay.
So not a full year, but it's been, like 8 months ish, a little under 8 months. So yeah, it's been a decent chunk of the year. Well, I know you want to like slide into stuff, X, but no, I think the Sprawl episode 2 is probably the best because, like I said, immediately after we finished that last mission, I sketched out my notes and wrote them down so we could quickly switch back for like a session or two of the Sprawl later. So like that is already pre-planned and requires no extra effort. And because we would be taking a break for me to have more time to write more, because basically the next segment of Star Wars will be a little more involved because, well, I can tell you the joke. My note document for this with the briefing so far is titled Triangle Strategy because of the funny. So like it will be slightly more involved because I will basically be giving these guys 3 options of things to do in a certain order, and they get to pick the order, and what order they pick these things in will affect them each other. Like if you do one mission, you will have more resources for later missions. If you do a different mission, you might like hamper the enemy so they have less resources for a mission, etc. And also, all of them, as usual, have a couple of different ways you can do them. So before I can so I don't waste writing time, before we can do them, I will need you guys to like tell me, hey, we want to do this way, which this way might be, full frontal assault, or this might be Sneakman's Blobman way. So, yeah, no. So it'll be a little more involved. And like I said, I pre-wrote that briefing, but we're going to see where this session ends. And like I said, whether or not I will actually need the time to work on it to take the break. And we may, like I said, we may take the break anyway. Just to switch things up. We don't want Star Wars to get too stale.
Right.
So occasionally we take breaks, we switch it up a little, some extra side stuff. But it's funnily enough, our Halloween special will absolutely be Star Wars. Check it out. It's good. Somebody asked in chat really quick if we watched Burn the Witch or read it.
I watched it.
Did I read the whole? Yeah, I definitely watched the special, the OVA. Did I read the chapters? I think I did. I think I dug them up and read them. It's good. I'm glad that they're decided. I think they talked about continuing a little bit. Yeah, we talked about it as a major theme some time ago. You can find our thoughts there. But okay, I think then, because we did briefly touch on the tabletops and how we don't want to deep dive, as we do, because we can quite deep dive on some of these subjects if we feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that means it's a good place for the wrap up. We did cross the 2 hour and 30 minute mark.
Right.
Little lean for a what's up, but it's fine. They can't all be super long.
I think we had a plethora of topics. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's good. We talked about a lot of things. We covered our title topic. We both had some stuff to talk about. You interior decorated a lot, and you fought a guy with a giant sword a lot.
Yeah, I did.
So it should be plenty entertaining for the people at home. So if there is nothing further, from the Peanut Gallery, it'll probably be wrap up time.
Don't worry, I will get my thoughts out on the animes eventually, because yes, I do have thoughts about Talk to OP and other such things, but not today. We're on our way out.
Yes, I briefly paused to retweet the "It's Saturday Night" tweet that Lucky also retweets every Saturday night.
It's a ritual, my dude.
It's great, yeah. No, I love it. Their media is just stacked up for this every week. It's great. And my All Rush mixtape. But we'll wind down here so I can back to my space mixtape and get down on some more Guardians of the Galaxy. Wish everybody a happy and a safe Halloween. I don't think I'll be indulging in any candy right now. I'm trying to watch my budget, but maybe they'll have something on clearance. I do get emails about all kinds of weird stuff. Oh, very briefly, I should point this out. I've been busy, but people will wonder. I did receive my Millennium puzzle.
Oh, okay, you did get
I'm
it.
in the process of assembling it. I just haven't had time to sit down and do it because it's the way they did it is it's like the actual anime. There's no instructions, but it is fairly intuitive to fit together. I just have to like sit down and take the time and finish it up. I'm gonna try and finish it before next prog episode so I can be OP. I'll win the game because I'll have a Millennium puzzle. As Dallas likes to say, so you'll cheat even though it's not technically cheating. Just get really lucky, bro. I've realized though that I haven't done nearly as much modeling as my life as maybe I should have. The instructions are all visual because it came from Japan, and so I think they realized they would get some hobby people out there. There's like English subtitles as well on some of the stuff. Like it says the Japanese text and the English below it. But I noticed I had a recurring problem as I was trying to fit together some pieces because I realized like, oh yeah, this piece isn't finished yet. I need to snap this little thing into this little thing. I did not read those instructions closely enough, so it was a learning experience. But it was kind of fun to take out my snips. Can I? No, they're not. They're rubber tipped. They're not making enough noise clacking. Snip all the sprues because it came in a sprue kit. Get all the plastic out and then start slapping shit together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure by next week I'll have finished it. Like I said, just need to take the sit down time. Working on a lot of projects. I keep thinking to myself that I want to because I know they're on Netflix and I've just been thinking about it because I've been like finding videos to kill time. I'm like, man, I really do want to sit back and like rewatch all the Karate Kid films, which is very funny because of the sweep the leg joke and Guardians, and then Cobra Kai again. But I'm like, I always think of that thought to myself at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like, nah, not tonight. I think those movies are like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't think I got time for that. Maybe I should start watching them piecemeal. But we'll have new stuff to talk about through the week. We are doing the wind down. I'm starting to get a little sweaty in here. So I'm probably going to open my window for a second because it's been cool lately. Been cool and rainy, which is nice, finally. It's not, 80-degree, sun is a deadly laser weather all the time.
Sun is a deadly
Thank
laser.
Goodness. Even cooler space dust.
I love the shout-outs.
So much. Anyway, we'll leave you with that thought and go about our business. Soz. Sorry, I just realized there was another thing I could have talked about, but that's more skeletal. I think it's fine.
I'll
be just thinking thoughts about genre and stuff. Well, I'm sure I'll do a deep dive. I was thinking about space adventures and like starships and stuff. And I think it tied into my earlier comment about my like inherent world building nature. Spoilers, if these guys ever did like a big spaceship adventure, I would absolutely be the kind of guy who would be like, all right, your uniform is this color if you're this crew, and this is where this facilities look. Like, I would do like the floor plans and all that shit. I love that stuff.
I mean, I think you were starting to get on that when we did our Mercenary Star Wars game, but we never really got the full time to get.
Yeah, that didn't really go very deep, Yeah. But like, I'm like, people should know I'm like this because even in 4 Explore, it's another game I will finish eventually. You got to be in the space mood. I juggle a lot of projects, okay? But like, I even did the like your colonist jumpsuits are color coded like it's fucking Star Trek because that's how I operate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love those little details. And color coding is important. It lets you do some certain visual gags and stuff. But yeah, that was just an errant thought I had as I was wrapping up. But I will do the actual wrap up. I see people already scooching on out of here because we're going down. So let's wind up on out of here and move on. So firstly, I will let you know you should give this video a like if you liked it. I see we've got about 9 viewers left and only 7 likes. Pull that weight, chat. Pull it. Lift it. Lift it like Drax the Destroyer. So that really, feeds that algorithm, lets it know stuff you like, I guess. Like the conversation off mic earlier about for some reason restoration videos are showing up in the StudiOmega's recommended feed. And we're not sure why, but they're cool.
They are.
But that, helps us out. If you got any comments, jam those in the comment section down below. If you're watching the VOD later.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel to get more of our latest videos. As we get closer maybe to some sub-milestones, we'll talk about some fun stuff we're going to do. So go ahead and check it out. Oh, Loth sadly only just showed up. Well, now you can watch the VOD and it'll be all new.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, if you needed to power through the FGO event, that makes sense. You only got a couple of days left on that.
I think you only got a day left, actually.
About now, I think it's like it's less than 48 hours. Yeah, I don't know if it's 24 yet. The game will tell you. Good on you if you powered through it all. Like I said, you can check out the VOD. We talked about some fun stuff. You can hear me gush about Guardians of the Galaxy. So be sure to sub so you can get our future content. And like I said, as we get closer to some sub milestones, I'll probably talk about some stuff and things. Some plans I have to maybe shill some stuff some more. Even if you're already subscribed, make sure to hit that bell for notifications so you always know we post a new video when we stream. I would like to once again remind everybody that as far as I know, like, we don't get extra money if you do that or anything. It just lets you know when our videos pop so you can go jump to them right away. Never miss a stream. And of course, you can also join our channel membership. You can get membership badges and emotes, just like you saw some people demonstrate earlier. You can check it out. It's really great. It's very fun. And the more people who join our membership, the more emote slots we get. I believe we're maxed out right now, so we could use a couple more members. Get more emotes. Also reminds me, Lucky, sometime I need to like get you to like float me the emotes as like a full asset pack or something so I can cram them in more funny thumbnails.
Oh, okay, I can do that.
I had to get a little creative with our Alan Wake thumbnail, but I think it worked out because that was the t-shirt asset that I flipped and stuck on Alan Wake's head because it was way creepier than anything else I could have done. But sometimes I gotta get a little creative, so I should probably get an asset pack out of you so I can use it for thumbnail edits.
All right.
But you know, that's the thing. You can support us on channel membership. You can also support us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes in audio format, downloadable, for as little as $1 a month or about $10 a year. And as we said, every drop on the stream, every little bit helps. You may think your dollar doesn't do much, but trust me, your dollar and everybody else's dollars do a lot. And don't be worried about ruining our 69 patrons. It's okay. Nice. But yeah, consider supporting us on Patreon any way you can. It is really helpful. And like I said, I got some plans before the end of the year I want to go through. I don't know. Somebody mentioned, like Halo Infinite coming out. I'm like, I would love to do our big long Halo thing, but I definitely need new computer parts for that. And I know that shit is still kind of expensive because of the chip shortage. So that's something I still got to research, but I think might be require a little extra. But support us. We'll further our plans. We'll keep you in the loop, and we'll let you know. And that, I think, has been this week's What's Up Live with Omega and Lucky.
Alrighty. We're going to get out of here. See you next week, people. Bye.
All right. Remember, I'm not a raccoon.